Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Uncut and After Show. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So, a massive shout out of thanks and appreciation to Michael Kahn, Patrick Gunnels, Banter, Mel B. Styles, Troy Shuker, Bosnail, Joseph Pizarro, Samson, Maris, Mobile Max 777, Neo the One, Lost Cat FE, Rob W, Open Minded, Reese Pound, Del West Watson, Mike, Muted, Dick Earth Skeptic, NA Literalist, Maria Neelands, Unbelievable Productions, Blue Ridge Ranger, Rob H, The Real Gabster, Windrider, Liam Nedrick Jr., Abraham Mohammed, Naibai, Adrian Quintana, Skeptic936, Life is Short, Fireball X, TheFlatEarthTunnel.com, Texas Mike, Edwin Johnson, and David Wayne Foster. So another massive thank you to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now I will hand over to whoever is in Google and Discord so you can enjoy their conversation while I set up for today's live show.
Oh, until we saw Nathan.
You know what I was told? The Jet Pandas proof that I'm on a spinning water ball. The guy tells me you're standing on it. That's the proof. And then I said, really? He said, well, I'm just keeping Nathan Oakley standard. I said, that's not true, number one. That's not the Nathan Oakley standard. Our standard is proof. Scientific proof where you can prove it, or any proof for other housekeeping questions. So then the other guy tells me, go to the highest place you can find, wherever you live, look at the horizon, and measure it with a theodolite, measure the drop. There's your proof. I said, okay, goodbye. See you later. Have a nice day.
That was
the
pretty
exact same
vague.
thing with-
So, did you ask him if he ever did it?
Nope. I just said goodbye. Have a nice day, ballers.
So he said, go
I had the
out
ex-
and measure to an apparent position. That's brilliant.
I had the exact same problem with Professor Phil Bell. I was asking him how could he prove that gas molecules that in real world seem to pool on the ground, how can he prove with demonstration that that is possible in a vacuum? And he started giving me equations, and I was like, okay, so the maths is telling you that you can calculate this stuff, but I'm asking you to demonstrate how it's possible, because you appear to be reifying into existence the abstract concept known as mathematics, and that's not science. That's not the standard in science. We need experiment, we need demonstration, we need proof. And he wouldn't accept it. In the end, I was trying to persuade him to accept that calculating correlations isn't science, and he won't have it. So they won't accept or concede that calculating correlations is not the standard.
That's because that's all they do. So if they were to admit it, they'd have to admit that they're obsolete. I don't know.
Anthony, can you do me a couple of favours?
What's that?
Number one, mute when you finish talking, because we just heard a load of banging. And two, can you turn your gain down about 50%?
Afternoon, guys.
Hello. I was listening back to some of the shows while I've been ill, and you're always like easily 100% louder than everyone else. And I
My
can't
gain
control
is
that.
like super low. Hang on, let me see if it's in thingy.
I suggest you do all of this off mute so we can all hear it.
I've turned it back to normal. I can't really turn it any lower.
No, that's good. I have mine set really low, and I've got my Yeti about a foot away, maybe 18 inches away, and the gain is as low as it'll go, and I still manage to overload it when I shout.
So, where were we? Oh, they always, yeah, they can't.
So do you have a headset or
admit
can you just
that
Google
they
it?
calculate into
I was
existence
going to
this
say,
stuff.
just Google.
Just Anthony. Go ahead, Anthony.
I'm just saying that they cannot and will not accept that they are calculating correlative maths into existence in lieu of science. They think that maths is science.
What's that banging noise?
I don't think it's me. There's
It is,
nothing in my
'cause you-
background other than my mouse.
No one else talking. Your line's bouncing when it goes bang, bang, bang. It's in the background. Someone's banging something in the background.
Nay,
Here they are.
there's not. It's silent.
Well, it is now.
Don't blame me, I was on mute.
Adam!
Blame Arwen. Blame Arwen.
Anyway, they've changed. I hoped that they'd added my ability to turn you down in G Plus or whatever it's called now, and there isn't. There's no facility to turn you down, so I've just got to rely on you setting your gains correctly. Which is never going to happen.
Hey, good morning, guys.
To be
Hey,
To be honest,
Scarlett.
Nathan, the one with the worst gain issue is Arwen. He's like 10 times louder than everybody else.
Nah, it's typically you. Go ahead, Stigoli. How you doing? Did you just want to say hello?
Oh, I'm doing well, man. Hope you're feeling better. I didn't know you were ill.
Yeah, I was, yeah.
Did you see your? I'm sorry.
Yes, I was.
That's too bad, man. Hope you're feeling better. Did you see your Russian vids shout out?
Yeah, I asked him to do it.
Oh, nice. It was nice.
It was a very good shout
And
out. So I produced a video with the sole intent of passing it to people saying, please can you shout me out? I want to get to 20,000 subs, which is precisely what I did. But Russian Vids went the extra mile. You know, he really did. He put together a proper video. In other words, he took time out of his day to take what I'd produced, add some bits to it, do a little voiceover at the beginning, put his outro and intro, and talk favourably about me. I was just absolutely blown away. I was like, wow, thank you so much.
That was impressive, that. I
Yeah, it
got
was
a
great.
nice bit in there. But that was really cool. That's why I bombed in the other night now to say thanks to him. I think everybody was, you were there, weren't you?
Who are you talking to?
You there. I was just saying the other night, you'd shared that video he'd done with us. I'd lost that channel. I'd not seen Russian Vids for ages, and I've not got that new
That's
channel.
because it's not called Russian Vids anymore. It's now RV Truth.
Yeah.
What's it called?
R
RV Truth.
Romeo Victor space Truth.
Got it.
Yeah. Updated me, that did, because old school.
Well, that's exactly the thing. Unless you are, why can't you find somebody that had 100,000 subscribers when they've been shut down? He's got a new channel. He's still putting out the same amount of content he was before. He's doing all the same things. Russian Vids, that is, or RV Truth channel name. You're like, well, because we don't get any promotion. That's why. Yeah, you're gonna find a new channel. It's like when Anthony came and showed me rate sheet 00000, and you're like, who's this? Well, I've never heard of her. Why? Well, because Anthony hadn't until that point shared her with me. That's a terrible turn of phrase.
The thing is, though, it's word of mouth, isn't it? It's not as if you get rammed all of her videos right after watching a Simon Dan video. You only get to know about these people's existence if there's direct interaction with them. So look at how one-sided it is for a topic that's considered to be conspiratorial or whatever. Yeah, they definitely censor it.
That's the real bonus of the ballers' behaviour. Ranty, Cats, Simon Dan, all of them do more advertising for us than we could ever achieve because their channels get put out as they slag us off. You know what I mean? But that at least highlights the names so you can find Nathan's channel, so you can find
I
other
figured that
people
out.
they attack.
I figured that out years ago.
Yeah.
So the moment they announced it in Congress that they were going to be putting a tramp stamp and suppressing us, and they were quite overt about it, which was, when you think about it, actually, on a slight tangent, the most sensible way of going about it. Just be really, really overt. Yeah, we're going to censor this. How are you going to censor it? Like this. To be really blunt. At that point, I'm like, well, I now value the material that comes out from my opponent more because they're the only adverts I receive. And for a time, people didn't get it when I would go to their channels. I don't have time now, but back in the day I did. I'd go and say, thanks for the advert. Thanks for the advert. And they'd be like, give me a load of rant. But you're like, now somebody's seeing my name that they can click on and come to my channel, because obviously they're not going to share a link with their audience, but they'll mention my name, and that's as good as you can get from an opponent. Go, Adam, go.
Yeah, I only found you back in the day because there was something going on with you guys and Dell.
Bill? Who?
Beyond the Imaginary Curve. He had mentioned you guys.
Oh,
I was like, what's
Dell.
he talking about? And I had to go, yeah, Dell, sorry. He had mentioned you guys, and I had to go back and like figure out who he was talking about. And that's how I found your channel.
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, I harp on about sharing the show and the importance of it as part of my intro on every single show for a reason. Because without the people who actually hit the share button, in fact, I see that as part of my job, going into the premiering streams and requesting that the audience there and then share the show. Actually saying, has anybody actually shared this show? Now, I say that because I will often go to Arwin's show, for example, sit and watch it, really enjoy it, and not share it with a soul. And you think, well, why aren't I? Well, because I just want to sit here and enjoy the show, and it's 2 clicks. That's far too much effort. You know? It's like, it's no effort at all, really, to stick it on Facebook or Twitter. Go on, Anthony.
Oh, so it's my mouse that you can hear then?
Oh, so...
Yes,
let me get this
your
straight,
mouth.
right? Let me get this straight. Your mic is so sensitive. Mine's the same mic, just so you know, that it can literally hear you moving the mouse, yet you've got the gain turned up.
I've got the gain turned right down. It's
No,
super
you had
sensitive.
it. Okay, past tense, my bad. Past tense, till I said something. You had the gain turned up, yet you can hear the bloody mouse moving.
Right, I've turned up the gates now so that it shouldn't pick it up.
You can still plainly hear it.
No. So actually, it's because it's not going through the desk. That's why. Let me change the settings.
Just do
Hey,
it on-
Riley, do you want a giggle? As we're not on it.
Just let him do what he's doing while you give him his giggle. I'll pretend to be Anthony. Yeah, like I'd love a giggle.
All right. Have a look in the war room. I've had a fight this morning. I'm 48 years old. I've been involved in a fight this morning, guys. I've had police around, all sorts.
Fifth fight?
Yeah,
No
like
way!
Yeah.
What the hell happened to you?
so. Had a guy yesterday come in the shop. Obviously, casing us out, asking if he could be a methadone addiction patient. So we're scanning to get the images today from yesterday's visit. But he's stuck his head round the door today and trying, oh, mate, I'm just trying to get this together, and then try to rob a load of stock and run up the street. So I've kind of followed him out, and I'm not chasing him. I'm kind of walking briskly, saying, why are you running up there? That's a dead end. But if you want to keep going, I'll see you at the top. And then the young lad's with us. He's running. He's slapped this box out his hand, picked it up, and we've headed back to the shop. And the guy's coming down there. And then one of the ladies is there. Comfort, she's there. And he's then started throwing punches at me and Dean. I've told people to get in the shop. Just get in, get out of the way. And Comfort's kind of ended up getting in the way as he's throwing punches, and I can't have that. So I've had to launch myself at this guy and take him down. And we've ended up having a bit of a tussle. I've took him down, and he wouldn't stay still. So I've had to hit him a couple of times in the gut and the head just to stop him moving.
You know, this is being recorded, right?
It was only in accordance with subduing, only what was necessary. I didn't do any more than...
Yeah, he took a couple of his teeth out.
That might have done. And then he's managed to get away, sprinted up the street, screaming at his mates, "Get the fucking knife!" Yeah, and so we're like, "Well, we'll wait then." So we've got people looking at around the estate now. The police are doing it and stuff. But yeah, man, that's £140 shirt. That's a Portsmouth shirt.
There's a bit more to the story underneath this paragraph that you've written about. It says they sped off in a car with number plate Globe 1.
So Adam,
I was going to ask Adam.
9 of them?
Yeah.
Adam, the guy with the ripped shirt in the picture in Discord. I mean, he's a proper scruffy looking bloke. That dude. What did the other guy turn out like?
Should have
That's
seen the
Adam.
state, the other bloke, yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
It's not a visual gag to the audience if they can't see the visuals, and I'm not
You
going to
can
put them
share
up
it.
either.
It's funny.
But yes,
By all means.
I mean, you clearly look like you've been in a fight.
Oh, I had. I've been rolled up. My neck's stiff. My neck's really stiffening up. I took a couple and we've had a good old school. It's lucky I was listening to 10th and Brian the other day talking about takedown wrestling. Got a few tips. But,
You're not doing either.
The most important question is what happened when the police turned up.
oh, they were cool. There was, I mean, luckily they're building a custody suite opposite us. So there's this guy and he says, "Oh, I was just in Selco, mate." I said, "So he's got these bikes." I said, "You're not CID, are you?" Because he's on the phone to the police and he's come round. He says, No. And the copper's talking to me on his hands free. And then he refers to the bloke as, I don't know, whatever. I said, "Oh, yeah, you're definitely not CID, are you?" So there's loads of coppers around there anyway. So and then literally within a minute or two, the old Bills turned up in uniform. So they just took statements and then they're back tomorrow once we've got the CCTV reviewed to try and identify him. But
So for our American viewers, Nottingham, if you it's got a picture in your mind of forests and Robin Hood. Actually, it's more like the Bronx. Who's making the feedback? Who's causing that?
Not me.
Adam, isn't
my
it?
mic's still open, that shouldn't be.
It's because I've had a
It
few
might
days
be
away
me.
from the mic, so now every technical detail, because I've been looking at technical stuff on my downtime, mics and things, and now I'm just obsessed with it. I'll probably shed it by the middle of the show and stop caring. But
What
probably
happens
not.
when you go on vacation? Everybody forgets how to go on.
Vacation. I've spent a week with my head the size of a football. I've hardly been on vacation.
Anytime you're taking painkillers, it's a vacation.
That was probably that guy was probably just me coming in going, "I'm in pain."
Trying to get more
help.
for you. Yeah, it's a weird one, but yeah. At least I got the afternoon off. I've shut the shop, I said, for safety reasons. So it's a lovely sunny day. So
Give
Adam,
Adam-
you're a dangerous dude, man.
Not a dangerous dude, he's an angel. So over the last week, I've just basically been a blubbering baby because I don't do ill very well at all, and
Yeah,
I'm
but
not
Nathan,
being
I'm
funny,
the
but it
same
was
way with pain.
well, it was just the most painful thing I've experienced to date in my life. So I've had broken bones, so it's not like I haven't experienced excruciating pain before. This was worse. So very rarely, if ever, go to any doctors. I'd never go to the dentist. I've got perfect teeth. And luckily for me, she did an X-ray, and she was like, "Your teeth are perfect. There's nothing wrong with them at all." I'm like, "Yeah, just look at my face though," as I'm slurring and dribbling to her that I'm in pain. And she's like, "Yeah, take these."
you could tell you were in a lot of pain. I'm unsure as to what it was. It was
Well,
it
that's
must
what I
have
was.
been very painful what I saw, mate.
Well, I lost track of what I was saying. I was saying Adam's been a little angel. So while I've been saying, "Well, the pain lasts any longer," you've been like that father figure going, "It's okay, be all right. Maybe go back if you're worried." You've been that character. I needed it, man. I was a big baby.
I think, as I say to all my students, it's nice to have somebody you trust, because respectfully, the medical services over here are protocol driven, not necessarily anything else. So you can slip through. And with what you had, I was keen to just keep an eye on it because it's the sort of thing that if not diagnosed, that's why I checked the microbial guidelines for you, just to see what they were using and why. It's always
But-
better to stay on top of stuff and have a second opinion. It's commonplace, I assume, in the States. You can seek it out, but it's not here. And I'm the same. I've been to my doctors if I ever go. I'll ring me mates. What do you think?
Well,
So-
what concerned me was that when I went back and my throat was swelling up and my sinuses were all swelling up and I was starting to lose sight in one eye, I went back, as you do, and I went in, I'm like, should I be worried? And she's like, nah, you don't need to be worried. However, you do need to sleep bolt upright. I'm like, what? Well, because if you lay down, your throat might close up and you might die. Should that happen, phone an ambulance. I'm like, really? But I shouldn't be worried. You know what I mean? She's telling me what things I should do that potentially might lead to calling an ambulance and therefore death if I don't. But don't worry about it. You'll be fine. This is normal. That's what she was telling me.
Well, I'll be fine. The proper elephant man you were looking at points there. John Merrick,
My
man.
eye closed shut at one point.
Down the morning.
Woke up one morning, I'm blind in one eye. I'm like, what's going on?
Glad to have you back, Nathan. We didn't know what to do ourselves without you. So we
I
almost
got-
started our own channel.
Lots of kind words from people. Right, I'm going to have to go silent. Don't go silent yourselves. I'm just pressing buttons.
No worries.
Except me. All I was concerned about was when you gonna have another show.
Funny. Oh, God, I'm aching now, boys.
Like, how bad can it be? Really, how bad can it be? But if you can't talk, you can't run a show.
Nah, he was bad. He was bad from what they gave him as well.
So Adam, you're a badass boy, huh? You don't mess with Adam shit.
Yeah.
So back to the police, Adam. What happened? Did he get arrested? Did he what?
No, he's gone, mate. He's pegged it up into the estate. So we'll find out who he is, either via the police or, you know what I mean, asking around off the estate. But you just got to look after the girls. You can't have crazy people like that.
You can't have them. What do you mean? About 70% of the population.
Yeah, so the assailant was white, male, scruffy beard, answered to the name of Sean Hawkins.
Or Bob Nodell.
Short black guy, if you want a full description. Bald head, slight stubbling. Blue tracks,
seen him?
black trainers.
Okay, we're not trying to put...
Have you seen the assailant before, Mr. Meakin?
Only the
put a photo.
previous day, sir. When he...
Would you recognise him again in a lineup if we caught him?
Yes, sir.
Give us 10 minutes. Go drag him out the latest hole he's in.
What happened to you, Adam?
All right, bro. I was saying, it's your fault. Yours and Temps. I've sat listening to you and your takedown wrestling tips. And no, he was. Look, it got to a situation where he was threatening one of the ladies. You know, she was in the way. So
It didn't connect to the server.
No, he's only got his fangs left, but they can leave.
Guys,
You're
sorry to interrupt. There's going to be a short delay because it hasn't connected to the YouTube server for some reason, so I'm going to have to figure out what that problem is.
You're
Oh.
back.
You're back.
You what?
This is what happens when you have a week
You're
off.
back.
Yeah, I know I'm back, but I'm not broadcasting.
Oh.
It's okay, just talk amongst yourselves.
Oh.
I just wanted to let you know why I'm not live and don't want you all going, oh, by the way, not live. No, I know.
Only one person that does
These
that,
guys
not
are
even.
complaining about missing out of Discord too.
Missing what?
You were out of Discord too for some reason, but you're back now here also.
Oh, okay.
So maybe it was a connection issue.
Oh, right. No, my router seems fine. Anyway, I'll figure it out.
So, Adam, when you took him down, what was the next move?
Keep hold of the neck, and then I just tried to lock his legs. Started pinching me, the girl, big girl.
You got to bite them when they do that. You got to resort to Mike Tyson tactics.
Well, that's when I
Pinching you.
That's when I just gave him a couple of jabs in the tummy first. That didn't calm him down, so I did one in the face and say, "Stay
Yeah, 'cause
still."
jabs in the tummy do tend to calm people down. Yeah, that's like, seems like an effective plan.
That was,
Speaking
and
of
then
fights,
That was
what about-
sarcasm.
What about Logan Paul, the flat earther?
I've not seen that fight. I've heard that Mayweather was just dragging it out, but
Well, what happened was
It was.
I got it. I didn't pay for it, but for a guy that never had a fight, like only had one fight. I mean, come on. But they got together. This was all a money grab. That's all it was. If Mayweather wanted to, really, you don't think he could have taken him out or really put a hurting on him?
He would have destroyed him if he wanted to.
did he hit him at any point, Logan? I've
Well,
not
what
watched it, so
What they're saying now is that, and they're kind of proving it, that Mayweather caught him with a shot and he was going to go down and he came in and held him up. I don't know about that. Mayweather's kind of small to be holding up Logan Paul, but that's what they're saying. He held him up so the show could go on longer. That's what I heard today.
It was just an 8-round spar. They had sparred before. That's what happened. They got together privately, they sparred, and they went in for an 8-round spar. That's all they did. That's all the McGregor fight was, a spar. The whole thing is a total fraud.
well, it's
Yeah,
not.
but the
It's not
McGregor
put as a
fight, I
fight,
think,
is
was
it?
real.
It's put as a piece
Well,
of
it has to be. That's how
entertainment.
they
It's
make
not
their
billed
money,
as a proper boxing match, and it
That's
wouldn't
how
be
they make their
sanctioned
big
as a
money
proper boxing
with the
match.
bets. They gotta fix it. Everything's fixed. Baseball, football. I mean, you name it. Everything's fixed.
Oh, I wouldn't
The
say
McGregor fight-
everything.
Yeah,
I'd definitely go down that road.
I'm
No,
pretty sure
I wouldn't
would.
say everything. I would say like
Before-
boxing and tennis is one of the two of the more reasonable ones to say yes, because it's so much easier to control the team, because a team is literally one person and it's easy for one person to screw up than to make a team screw up.
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live, and there's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Also below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. Now, we are joined by Brian's Logic, Chocolate Saiyan, Neil, Sleeping Warrior, the Adam Meekin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord. So welcome one and all.
That's
Hey, good
Adam
morning.
the Animal Meekin. Yeah.
Hey.
Hello.
There he goes.
Brian,
morning,
that's a
good
good
morning.
one, Brian. That's a good one.
And hello
The
to everyone
Animal
in
Meekin.
hello to everyone in Discord.
Hello.
sir. How you doing?
Low.
Excellent. The barrage of potato mics saying hello is just what you need after a few days off. Excellent. Good to have you all. Welcome. And welcome to everyone in the audience. There's hopefully going to be lots of new people watching at the moment. So be on your best behaviour, as there's probably some new subscribers watching this live stream. So welcome to all of you who've just subscribed. Massive shout out to Russian Vids, or RV Truth, as his channel name is now known, for shouting me out with such a heartfelt endorsement for me. So really do appreciate it. Thank you very much indeed, Russian Vids. Thank you. can't say more than that really, as it gave me about 500 subscribers. You can't really say fairer than that. Thank you so much. And as I say again, welcome to all of you who've just joined and potentially watching this for the first time live. We do a thing called housekeeping typically, and I'd like to rattle our way through it if you're all keen. Any evidence of a physical geometric sphere edge, that's a horizon, formerly known as Earth curve.
No, but we can calculate it if we believe that we're on a sphere.
Is that calculated to a level of calculating it into existence, or just numbers to support your theory?
Yeah, we just calculate it into existence based on anything that we perceive is credible evidence. So we'll just say that if we can calculate, I don't know, anything, we can just calculate it into existence.
Well, what you could do is you could measure a table flat, and then you could pre-assume, due to a mathematical belief that you have, that that table is actually curved at a consistent constant rate. And you could then add the mathematics in, and at the end of your deliberation, that table will be curved. So that's what you could do.
We've experienced that firsthand. So about 3 years ago, we were making videos along with the help of people like Ranty Flat Earth and Jose J.G. Gonzalez to demonstrate that a limitation of an angle against the deck can cause things to disappear from bottom up. That would be to say that you can't resolve the difference between the angle to the floor at the point that the item is sat on the floor and the item itself. Therefore, if you can't distinguish between the floor and the item, you can't see the bottom of the item, or in the case of a light on a camera frame, for the sake of argument, you can get the light to disappear just by lowering your camera. Now, this effect we labelled angle of attack, or I labelled angle of attack, it's foreshortening, but it's inducing a limitation to the angle. Now, when we first started showing that to people, they would say, and I quote, floor's curved. That's what they'd say. In other words, when they say level is curved, that is quite literally what they have to believe and do in order to make such statements as the table that you're moving a coin away from your camera on, and it's being obscured, in quotes, from bottom up. That's because the table isn't perfectly level. It's actually curving and you're seeing something obscure it because the table's not flat. And that's literally what they used to tell us. Shout out to Israel Jimenez, who says, McToon says, geometric triangles prove the globe. Care to speak on that? Where do they acquire one? They've got a curved surface beneath their feet. Thank you for the super chat.
That is a mathematical.
Nathan, there's no flat surface
Just
on
one.
the globe.
I had Brian first. Go ahead, Brian.
Okay, Nathan, thank you. Yeah, that is a mathematical conversion from flat. That's after surveying has surveyed everything flat and everything put into Cartesian coordinate systems. It is then mathematically converted. It basically all zeniths that go to the center of the Cartesian coordinate systems are pre-assumed to go to the center of the WGS84 oblate spheroid mathematical globe model, and then they mathematically convert everything to sphere after all the flat measurements have been done. So that's where, when they speak about triangles having more than 180 degrees, that's complete and utter nonsense. No triangle has more than 180 degrees. So this is rubbish.
And you know why that is? Because triangles have got 3 straight lines, not 3 curves.
Yeah, indeed, they haven't got an angle to acquire for their measurements, which are done on flat surfaces, either tangent planes with assumed zenith that moves to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth. Well, in order to make that presupposition based on a datum, usually if you're actually measuring it flat, I might add. Brian already mentioned it. Yeah, measuring it flat. And then after the fact, adding in an R value if you're making celestial observations, or pre-assuming that you've got a zenith that points to the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth, only for you to use Euclidean measurements and measure it all flat. However, to make the assumption, you'd need an R value, so any evidence thereof. Any evidence of the R value, that's Earth radius. R.
Equator. Hello.
Equator. The answer is no. There is no R value outside of the maths. That's the only place the R value is. Nothing was ever measured. It can't be, because the horizon is not geometric and sun rays are not parallel. So there are the 2 pre-assumptions that must be made to try and measure or calculate an R value in reality.
It was once explained.
If those 2 things aren't real, then you can't.
It was once explained to me by Arwen that you need to assume that R, because if you don't, you can't get around the curve function collapse. So you have to assume R in the mathematics, because otherwise, if you try and observe it, you'll just experience it flat. Curve function collapse, right?
Yeah, correct. And of course, integral to that, also to the presupposition, the proof of R is, of course, the lack of imagination of what the celestial lights are, and that they can only ever be giant balls of fire and rock and dust very far away, surrounding you in globular fashion. So you would have to stand on the globe, right?
I've been told that, yeah. I lack imagination. I don't have the capacity of imagination to experience being on a ball. I have been told that as a defence once.
Wouldn't you need to know R before you could calculate how much it collapses when you observe it?
Don't bring the Arwinian paradox into it. It's a different...
No, it's just that it's very easy to fall for that trick if you didn't know about terrestrial refraction, the curve function collapse, and then just looking at it, you could think that it might be the edge of the sphere you're looking at, because you didn't really understand optics, and then you're going to figure it out, and then you're going to compare it with geometry and figure out you see too far. So that means that the globe Earth must be looking flat. There's the curve that must be there is collapsing because we can see too far. So you can't measure it through optics.
But because I'm seeing it flat, but knowing that it's obviously curved, to calculate that rate of collapse, I'd still need R to work that out, wouldn't I?
Yes. Yeah, but you can still get that from the equator.
No, you can't.
That is a set
length. God, somebody throttle him.
Yes.
No, you can't.
No, you can.
The equator's not a real
it's a set
thing.
length.
Oh, Adam, you deal with him.
Well, no, this is where he has to go against his own belief. So, if we're going to have that, then we are going to allow a physicality assumption bias with regards to any further assumptions we're going to make with regards to what the equator is and how we define it. Yeah.
No, but he's not going to say that, is he? He's just going to go silent.
He's gone quiet. I love it.
I was going to say it, but I was on mute, damn it. No, it's...
Sure.
Thanks. No, but the equator is based on the celestial orientations and all that, and those are pretty much fixed. And that's why the equator line, even though extracted from the celestial orientations in relation to the surface, is pretty much a set length. Doesn't change.
I'm gonna call bullshit Arwen. Hang on, I'm gonna call bullshit Arwen because I know that Arwen's never on mute.
Okay, go ahead. Yeah, fine. Yeah, I agree. That was a stony silence in the same way we get them from the globers. Go ahead, Chocolate.
I've just
Wishful
got one
thinking.
last point on this physicality assumption bias, Owen. We're going to, you say to define this, we're then going to use shadows.
Yes.
Yeah. When we're defining the equator, what are we looking for, shadow or no shadow?
Yeah, we are looking for shadow, but also just average shadow, right? It's the shadow over the years.
Well, no, I thought we're trying to define the point of GP, aren't we? We're trying to position the point where there would be no shadow. So your point of measurement is to observe nothing.
Well, no, not necessarily, right? Because the sun angle always changes throughout the year. So you got to take the average middle position, the
So I've got
average of it all.
So I've got to get something, pre-assume it's on something, then subtract it from the pre-assumption to give me nothing, which will give me the point of where it would be. But I can't add that point because the only way you can measure it is with a shadow, and we're trying to get a point of no shadow to mark the GP, yeah?
Well, when you say it like that, it doesn't sound very glorious. But
Yeah, I'll say it better. So it's a begging the question fallacy wrapped up in a paradox and then sold to you. No, he hasn't given you an alternative. That's it. It's a begging the question fallacy wrapped up in a paradox.
Yeah, and then you sell it to obligations, which split it up into 100 packages, send it around the world, and it's gone. And it's gone.
Yeah, the point is you've got to get as far, you've got to stick as many steps in as possible from the reification. That was the one I was looking for. So it's a paradox with a reification and a begging the question fallacy. But when you get to the reification part, you've got to make as many steps as possible between the fact that you can't actually measure the thing that you're starting with at the assumption. So you need to put lots of distinct steps with disclaimers at the beginning. But the mistake that Arwin's still making, or Baldwin is still making, is he's not putting the disclaimer in at the start as a defense when it's actually a concession. So, for example, when you were like halfway through your blurb, you said, well, it's derived from the averages when he asked you about whether or not you're getting it from the shadow or the lack thereof. Well, you should have started with that. No, it's derived from the averages, you idiot, would have been even better. And then you move on with your bullshit afterwards, after you've put the dirty detail out first and an ad-hom.
Yeah, but you're trying to put rumpus protocols in my shoes. I don't need to go dirty because I know I'm right.
That's dirty in itself. Let's move on with housekeeping. Any evidence of axial rotation, as there's no evidence of R beyond a long-winded segue between mathematical assumptions, reifications, and paradoxes. Axial rotation of the Earth-based variety. Anybody at all?
The lockstep motion of the air
wouldn't give you any deviation to claim Coriolis.
But Earth spin, though.
So you're going to assume Earth spinning, and we're not seeing any effect because the atmosphere, sphere-shaped air, is moving along with it at a varying rate with altitude. Yeah, that's just nonsense.
Right. Because at certain altitude, it's spinning with the rotation, and in another altitude, it's spinning against it. It makes perfect sense.
No, it's a first law of thermodynamics violation. So in order for you to, if you instead of air, if you picture it with a helicopter, right? So you say, okay, the air's moving in lockstep. Now, the only reason you're going to be told this by a fundy globe-believing idiot is because they're getting around the fact that we don't see any natural Coriolis effect. There's no deviation to observe. They only claim it with gyros and pendulums and other such man-made devices. So there's no natural drift. There's no Coriolis to prove we're spinning. So when we get to that point, the Globey says, no, the reason we don't have any Coriolis drift to prove we're spinning is because the Earth moves, that's an assumption, a begging the question fallacy, with the atmosphere, therefore there's no effect to observe. I don't see the effect because there's no effect to observe, but I still assume it's spinning with the air itself. Right, so now we're at the stage where instead of air, just substitute for a helicopter for visual ease. The helicopter goes up. Now, if it's to continue hovering above the exact same spot, it must, as it increases its altitude, increase its velocity with relation to the ground beneath. Because your circumference, the overall distance that you will travel increases on a sphere as you raise in altitude. Now, that would mean that you'd have to increase the energy from the system that you're describing with a helicopter in relation to it hovering on the ground, and therefore create energy out of nowhere for it to do so. It's a first law of thermodynamics violation. Not to mention the fact that when we move back away from the helicopter example, which is the only way to give it enough physicality to make the example to show the first law violation, when you get to the air moving in lockstep, air's unbonded. Completely unbonded to itself, not bonded to anything, separate in all respects. So how's it travelling with the ground when it's not even bonded to itself? Gas particles are unbonded, so they're not moving in lockstep with anything. One of their fundamental principles is that they're unbonded. But yet bonded to the ground moving? No.
Well, maybe the space is bending with it. Maybe it's the space that's turning and not actually the material. And that's why the gas easily moves lockstep, because it's in another reference frame. Like another spatial reference frame.
They're not
Due to
actual
space-time
places.
bending, right? Same cause of gravity?
No. Describing something from a reference frame to give it some sort of language-based description doesn't make a reference frame a physical place for you to invent a space dimension, which is basically where you're going with this, so I can already detect it. Right? You're going to put it in a space dimension that doesn't exist, aren't you?
No. Now, the space dimension would be the cause of literal Euclidean space
Oh, bloody hell. Here we go.
changing its orientation in relation to other Euclidean space surrounding it.
Any evidence? Any scientific evidence of gravity?
No. There's no
Quickly
way.
move on, right? Quickly move
what's
on
that?
after my devastating argument.
Oh my
Devastating.
God.
Nonsense. Right, okay. If you're going to try and introduce Euclidean versus Einsteinian pseudo-4 space, which is where you're going with this and you know it, then...
Oh, no, it wasn't.
What do you mean, no? Okay. Carry on your explanation. Go ahead, Owen.
Yay! We won! It's a globe!
Me giving you permission to actually back your nonsense that was going to inevitably end in pseudo-4 space, an imaginary dimension that you're going to have moving along with the air moving with it, but you're not being able to detect it or it violate a first law because it's taking place in pseudo-4 space. Yeah, I know where you're going to go.
Well, almost, though. Almost. It was going to feed back eventually to pseudo-Riemannian 4 space, because that's the origin of the idea. That's where gravity comes from. That's what allows the gas pressure to stay in the container.
See, that was perfect.
Barrier.
See, that,
But
in response to me...
No, but this was space itself.
And now he won't stop.
space in
You see,
3D
now he's got it
came
pegged.
because of it.
He's got it
He's
pegged
got
now.
to carry on now, Nathan.
Yeah, now he'll carry on.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Absolutely brilliant.
When I would be at the point where I would absolutely be justified in interrupting and saying, no, your opening statement there, Arwin, as a baller, is perfect. Because you're begging the question, making it in a firm, authoritative manner, even though you're technically declaring a loss. Yes, I am going to take it to 4 space that doesn't exist, is a mathematical reification. But you said it with such aggression that it seemed like it was almost an attack, like a winning
Nathan,
position to take.
I heard him get in that gravity contains gas pressure on a ball Earth.
It was his opening statement. You heard to get it in. Yeah, that's because there was a lot of waffle afterwards. But that was his opening statement.
That's why I unmuted and had to give you a round of applause.
Because you all started to overtalk me.
Those
things.
Top
and not
points.
actually...
10 points extra given for moaning about us interrupting and detailing to the audience how we'd be explaining the fallacy when we interrupted and then got told off for it by our opponent, who is so wronged in this scenario, like Arwin is now, right? You're so wronged and we just talked through you. Top marks. Bravo. Ball win, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Applaud for myself.
Applaud for Baldwin. What Arwin has now got the skill to do is replicate every scummy, dirty tactic that is required to defend the globe. He can do it perfectly now.
Right, but I'd like to leave out the ad homs, though. I don't think it's necessary.
No, I think it is for them. Because when you're
not
making a
for me.
declaration that's actually a concession with an aggressive tone to make it seem like it's an argument in defense of your position rather than a concession, then when the person tries to interrupt and point out that you telling me that pseudo-4 space is going to be the reason gas pressure's held here, at the moment you hear that response coming through, you need to start interrupting and crying foul that you were interrupted.
Yes.
Shout out to Godzilla37, says Baldwin is my favourite baller. Sometimes you can push it a bit too far, gets too into character, and doesn't actually shut up when the point needs to be made. But other than that, he's 90% there. Thank you for the super chat, Godzilla. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not to date.
And we'll get past looking at stuff.
No.
Oh, too bad then. But why not? I mean, it should be easy, right?
Well, they've got plenty of phenomena to study, so yeah, you would think they'd have something. They'd at least try. Instead, they just decided to redefine science. Any evidence that... Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say, well, according to Brian Cox, they have the retrograde motion of Mars, I think. I heard him say in a video. I don't know if that's a hypothesis, though.
What, he made Mars move backwards in an experiment?
Retrograde motion?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he did that much.
What part
That's
of it
what
did
would
he
be
manipulate?
required, isn't it? If he's going to claim science and he's going to talk about movement of Mars, then that surely is what you want to be manipulating. If
he hovered it backwards.
Okay, I'm not even sure retrograde motion counts as a phenomena.
Well, did he make it do it? Did he give Mars a good spin?
Can we call it its proper name? Can we call it apparent retrograde motion?
Correct. Apparent retrograde motion. What does apparent mean, Anthony?
Not real, not actual.
Not actual
Like
motion.
gravity.
It's not actual motion. So anybody here
seeming
that
motion.
can concisely or succinctly describe what retrograde actually is? If not, I'll do it.
It's kind of like Coriolis effect, right?
No, not at all. Totally different.
Okay.
It's, well, what it is and what it's presupposed and what we can prove it is are very different things.
I just want... I'll just do it for
Is it from the
consistency.
60s or 70s?
Just for consistency, I'm just going to tell the audience what retrograde is. They may not know. They may have heard the term, but not realise what is actually being described. If you imagine the night sky to be a plate with a pattern of dots on it, and you turn the plate throughout the night, right? The following day, when you see the pattern re-emerge into the night sky, one of those lights will be slightly further back in its cyclical pattern than it was before. So it's moved back in relation to the rest of the stars as they concisely, as they move together in lockstep. Yeah? But the following night, it'll be moved back again in relation to the rest of the stars. That's retrograde motion. Yeah?
Right.
Well,
so then it is kind of like Coriolis effect because it's an apparent change. Even though there's real changes happening, the way you see it, it's kind of like the wheel of a car spinning really fast. Like sometimes it spins so fast that suddenly it seems like it's turning the other way around. That's retrograde motion too,
no,
right?
it isn't. Anyway, right. My point was that
The ball Earth can't work. The ball Earth can't work at all whatsoever.
Would you call it a phenomena? I'm going to ask Adam. I wouldn't call that. I'm going to go out on a limb and say is that a phenomena? Phenomenon.
See, I was going the other way. I'm making excuses that it is. Because it's repeatable and observable, I would put it into the class that it is. In the first time, it's just something weird, but no, it's predictable. It happens, and it's different, but it's predictable. So I'd probably say, yeah. Does that mean we can science it? No, but does it make it a phenomenon? Yeah, I think.
Ball Earth can't work at all in general. It just can't work.
What can't work?
I don't dispute that. But...
Yeah, it can't work. It doesn't function properly. It can't function properly.
What's it? Be more specific.
What I mean is, how do I say this? One, the rotation and all this movement that we supposedly have It can't work at all. We'd all be dead. We'd all be dead. There's 100-mile winds that have literally blown people into the air. It's literally on video. So it's just like, it just doesn't make sense.
Okay, but in regards
And then
to
on top of that, there's a giant snake circling the flat Earth. So the whole model just goes out the window.
What?
Okay, but
there's a giant snake circling the flat Earth. You want to see it?
What?
No thanks.
Yeah, you guys ever seen that flat Earth map where there's a snake circling it? There's a flat Earth map. You can look it up.
You mean like oceanic dragons, right?
Oh,
You don't mean ocean monsters?
No. I mean, there's a giant. Do you want me to post up the picture?
Yeah, stick it in Discord live stream. Someone will pick up on it. But
Yeah, I'm gonna put it in the main chat. Yeah, there's a giant snake
just-
circling the flat Earth. Here, I'll show you.
We'll check it out. But
Okay.
at the moment, we're in the midst of trying to figure out if there's any viable hypothesis from any of the fields that have lied to us about astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics, right? And we're saying, or I'm saying, is retrograde motion actually a phenomena? So Adam's gone yes. I'm saying no. But if you're going to say yes, I'm going to challenge you to describe what is the phenomena.
I would say it's a phenomena within a phenomena, but we don't know what the first phenomena is. So is it a phenomena? If we found out what
let Brian finish. Brian's going somewhere. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, if we found out what the first phenomena was, which is what the sky is and what the stars are, then it may not be a phenomena because that might tell us that.
Right.
But it was a phenomena after that, maybe.
Right. In other words, if you're going to say it's a phenomena, well, the lights appearing and disappearing and then following through their cycle, I'd call that a phenomena in the first instance, which is what Brian's saying is the first phenomena. And then after that, if you figured out what that was, you could go on to say what within the cycle that we're calling a phenomena because it appears and disappears in the night sky, what's that cycle doing within that phenomena? But you can't until you figure out what the bloody hell it is in the first place. And we haven't got the slightest idea. We're told they're rocks in orbit. So what we're going to do from here is go, okay, these lights in the sky that we don't know what they are, we just know they've got a cycle. We're going to figure out a particular detail about the cycle. There's no need. Why is it a contentious point then? Well, because it doesn't work properly, right? When you assume you're on a sphere. So it's suddenly a problem. Suddenly it's a phenomena that needs sciencing. Is it? All right, it's slightly further back tonight. Oh yeah, that's fascinating. So what? Who cares? Oh right, that's a problem if you assume you're on a sphere and that we're falling around the sun and that the sun's at the centre of our world and that the lights in the sky have got other lights moving around them also falling because they're giant masses in this mathematical reification of pseudo force space. I see. And when I do all of those assumptive things, suddenly there's a problem with it. Who cares?
Okay, I posted the pictures up on the main chat.
If I could.
I posted the pictures up on the main chat. So if you guys want to look at the giant snake circling the Earth, there you go.
Well,
I moved
there's
them
more
on
of them.
Pound says,
them on Skype, Nathan, for you.
Thank you very much. Pound says
I'm
it's
not
not
sure
a flat Earth
what-
map. Pound says it's not a flat Earth map.
What it is, Nathan, is some imagery where as part of the where are we? Part of the Atlantic, Southern Atlantic, where the tip of South America meets the supposed tip of Antarctica in the that region that's changed on the old maps. Part of the underwater land mass appears to, from some angles, look a bit like a snake's head. I suppose you could look in the clouds and say similar sort of things. It's one of those.
On the Earth. Jesus Christ.
I mean, it's a
killed
bit of
it.
a Joey-eyed snake, if I'm being honest. One eye's looks like he's been in a fight, but probably might explain why he's dumped at the bottom of the sea in South America.
Oh yeah. He was alive. Just letting you know that. He was alive. He got killed.
Okay.
Okay, we've got a bit of lava going on. We might segue this. Check it out. Any evidence
that
of
thing from the Yggdrasil picture.
Ugh.
Yep. You want to see Yggdrasil?
I got that photo. I got this picture on my computer for 5 years. So.
And
You want to see? You want to see the tree that got cut down?
We just couldn't
Yeah,
view
it was on the flat Earth.
Thanks.
It was on the flat Earth. It got cut down. You want to see?
Okay, well, can you show me where this giant mountain is sticking out for like 100 kilometers?
It's symbolic, Arwen, isn't it? That's the Norse. Is the one you're talking about the Norse Asgard Midgard picture?
Yeah, Asgard was real.
Yeah.
It was a real place.
So that's a symbolic snake, isn't it? It's not a real snake, is it? It's supposedly.
No, it's a real snake. You want to see? You want to see the leaves? The leaves are like 1,500 feet long.
The magnetic field.
It's the dragon.
Just leave other people talking.
I think it should be 12 people talking. Maybe 5 more people talking on top of Adam. And who is it that was talking in Discord? Skeptic?
From my understanding, that is symbolic. You go and reference Martin Leake, who back a couple of years goes.
No, this was in the days of Noah. Basically, what happens is there was before the flood. This is what the world was like. There was a giant tree.
Could you let Adam finish, brother? Could you let Adam finish? Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I say we reference and go and look at that. It seems to be a symbolic thing which is supposed to represent the magnetic field, I think, in this instance, and that's the thing generated by the big tree in the middle. I don't think it's a literal thing of a giant snake. It was, I'd say, representative of that. I
know what I see. I see its body, so I believe it.
Yeah.
Okay, you've said that 5 times. What's the significance, though?
Oh no, this is where atheists go when they die. Yeah, this snake. Basically, you know how people like to say hell is under the earth and stuff like that? Well, Jesus said that this snake right here, he puts atheists inside the snake to be tortured if they don't turn to him.
Okay.
Cool.
So this is where people go.
Okay, well, what it makes me think of is the dragon of the North Sea. There's supposed to be this guardian towards the realm to the north and the edge of the world, right? Have you ever seen Eric the Viking? It roughly uses that. So that's what this snake reminds me about. It's the guardian of the north, the land to the north, the magnetic mountain. Who knows? It could be symbol for actual people in the know protecting it, right? The people always ending up eating their own tails. The dark ones.
You know, it's a real snake.
Secondary meaning, Arwen.
It's in the text. Jesus Christ said so.
Self-eating snake, which is the symbology of the ever-repeating cycles of life, which is often used in ancient stuff as well, where the snake is consuming its own tail. That's representative of continued cycles.
It's representative of a lot of things.
Yeah.
The only thing I can see in this that wants me to move it back with the segue to housekeeping is the molten iron core. We've got pipes going down to Sheol or somewhere similar. Who knows? But any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core, equally as absurd.
Absolutely not.
Dude,
you mean the core of the earth, Nathan?
No, we don't have a molten iron core. We have a wood core.
Well, that's what's on screen, right? That's
the core of the earth doesn't exist. The core of the earth does not exist. It's imaginary.
Well, it's depicted in this picture, though. This has got a root system underneath the volcano.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has. It's a tree. It has to have a root system.
Yeah. So let me get it straight, Skeptic. You're saying molten
You want
iron
to see
core.
you want to see where the roots got cut?
I'd like to finish a sentence. You're saying molten iron core absurd, but tree underneath a volcano. Yeah, it's got to be.
Well, maybe volcanoes are like waterways for the giant tree.
Hello, asking the guy who presented the image. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening.
I'm just saying, I understand it. I could easily side with you and go, yeah, molten iron core is absolutely absurd. Give a load of P-wave.
No, because I'm not trying to.
I would quite like to get to the end of this sentence as well. That would be nice if I could finish this sentence too. Thank you. So, yes, I could side with you and say, yeah, molten iron core absurd. But then when I follow that up with a picture like this and say, yeah, it's got to be, you're going to get someone like me saying, well, why? Why is this got to be and molten iron core is absurd? I know why molten iron core is absurd, but when I present anything, or anybody presents anything with this being symbolic or anything, you're like, no, I don't get it.
That would be to you, buddy.
Oh no, I already said I agree.
Okay.
I don't think he's making a scientific
I'm very
claim.
simple. I'm not. I don't overcomplicate things. So you're not going to hear like a lot of, how do I say this? A lot of oh well, you know, this against this or this. No, I agree.
Well, okay, fair enough. I'll just do a quick shout out and then chaos can commence again, no doubt. Multi Tom Tom, thank you very much indeed for the super chat. Welcome back, Nathan and the gang. You are all ace. Wow, thank you very much. Shout out to flat earthers all over the globe. Indeed. Thank you very much, Multi Tom Tom. I like your wording. Yeah, we're all flat earthers. It's just a lot of us have got a mental construct that's spherical. Never mind.
Yeah, pretty much.
Any evidence of gas pressure being able to have pressure without containment?
No, but there is containment. Just look at the picture. See, it's a container. Even the branches climb up against it.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
Don't take the Lord's
Nathan,
name
you're
in vain.
rusty, boy.
Don't blaspheme. A gas pressure without a
Without the
container.
balloon, there could be no pressure.
Did you like
They
my?
said that, didn't they?
Did you like
I
my?
would like the question asked again.
Any evidence of gas pressure without a container?
Yeah,
Nope.
the old Nathan.
No, it's the container that actually causes the gas pressure. It causes the gas to press. Without the container, the gas cannot press. Cannot create
Chocolate.
the pressure.
Chocolate quoted a famous baller that addressed that issue. I think it was Katz, wasn't it? And he addressed that issue. Didn't reach a conclusion, but what he did say is that, you know, without the balloon, there can be no pressure. You know, so they've addressed it. Just don't want to face the reality of knowing the consequence of the second law.
It's the source of a lot of pain for a lot of them. Obviously, about
The vacuum would.
Go on.
The vacuum would rip the atmosphere off, and we would all die. It's really
Yeah, you
that
got to be
simple.
careful with
That's
your
all it is.
The vacuum
phraseology.
wouldn't do that at all.
You've got to be
Well,
careful with your
this is a
phraseology.
misnomer.
So when you say the vacuum would rip the atmosphere off, well, number one, you've given.
Yeah, if outer space was real, the vacuum
My
would just
bad.
rip
This
the
sentence
atmosphere. We
definitely
would all
doesn't
be
need.
dead.
This
instantly.
sentence doesn't need more than 4 words, I'm sure. You've got a bit of an issue, mate, when people are talking. Now Neil's got the same affliction. So when you say the vacuum would rip the atmosphere off, that's a very bad phrasing because, number one, you're giving them an air that's sphere-shaped in the form of atmosphere, so you're already giving them that, and you're saying the vacuum would rip it off, which implies that the vacuum's doing some work, which it isn't. It's just an available volume for the gas to fill. As soon as you say that,
because there's literally a truck.
As soon as you
They
say
literally
that, it
made a
opens up
vacuum in
me
a
to
truck,
be interrupted on the conclusion. The useful bit doesn't need
if
to
it
be
can
heard.
crush a
I would
steel
say
truck,
that the most
it can
useful
pull
bit of this
air.
statement needs you to talk through it. The guy who's made the fuckwit statement, perhaps you should talk through the useful bit that you can actually listen to, and maybe not make the same stupid, idiotic mistake where you let them tell you that gas and vacuums don't suck, which is what you'll have some baller tell you. That useful bit, I think you should interrupt that. Don't say that the vacuum would rip the gas off. The gas would fill the space, because that's what gas does. Gas moves at high speeds into any available volume, and all a vacuum is an availability of volume. So it's not going to rip anything. It's not going to do anything. It can't. It's just a space that's non-existent.
No, it's gonna rip it off.
Dude, are you paying attention to what's being said? to you?
It's okay, Chocolate. Let's play baller. Sorry, do you appreciate that vacuums don't suck? They don't do anything.
I have a vacuum right here. It sucks all the time.
That's
Use
a
it to clean my
mechanical
floor.
device. That's not a vacuum in physics terms. A vacuum is an availability of volume in these terms, not a machine that sucks up dust from your carpet.
No, every time I see a vacuum, it pulls pressure. That's why it can destroy a steel truck.
It creates a
'Cause
pressure
it pulls.
differential.
It's on video, so no one can deny that. Anyone who denies that is retarded. It's on video. It's on YouTube. Steel rail car versus vacuum. So that's what
about
ends
it?
up happening.
Vacuums don't do anything. All you're doing is removing the air from a container, and then the pressure around the container is crushing it because there's nothing to resist it. But the empty void that's left didn't do any of that work. It didn't pull the container inwards. That's not how it works.
That was a steel rail car versus air pressure.
Exactly. But you're just opening yourself up to be ridiculed by a baller who says vacuums don't suck. Because they don't.
And what
Right,
vacuum?
gas presses, but it only presses because
Well, you need to
it has
understand.
a
I come from a
container
different point of
surrounding it.
view. I don't believe in science like you guys. So
This isn't science.
I'm completely different.
Science doesn't require belief, my friend.
This isn't science.
Huh?
This isn't science.
Yeah, you're talking to someone that's completely different. I don't have the same mindset you guys have, and that's pretty obvious. You can tell just by the pictures.
Ugh.
How about logic? How about logic? You abide by logic?
No, I go by the word of God.
Okay.
No? You abide by the word of God? What?
Okay, then.
Hold on, so do I, and you sound like a meatball.
Why are we getting a picture from Norse mythology then?
A meatball.
Yeah, because it's in the Bible. It talks about all this stuff in the Bible. It talks
Midgard
about
and
Yggdrasil.
Asgard.
Really?
Not in the Bible.
Isgard?
Yeah,
Yggdrasil?
Yggdrasil is in the Bible. You want to see the verses?
Oh, where? What's the paragraph?
Daniel 4:11 through 15, and then Ezekiel 31.
Cool. What does it say?
The tree grew and was strong, and its height reached unto the dome, and the sight thereof to the ends of all the earth. And an angel, a watcher, came down, and he said, Cut down the tree, cut off its branches, and shake off its leaves. But nevertheless, leave the stump of the tree's roots on the earth. And then in Ezekiel 31, it literally says that the shade of the tree covered all nations, meaning America, Canada, every single nation.
Nations, you say?
Meaning specifically America.
America? I didn't know the nation of America.
Oh, God, it
existed.
sounds like PJ.
Yeah, but there is something to it, though. And if he actually got that
Ah.
from the Bible, I still don't see the name Yggdrasil or Isengard. Isgard. I don't hear about that, right? But yeah,
No.
There might have been a big key.
For the snake, you need to go to a book called the Epistis of Sophia, chapter 126,
Well,
where
that's
Jesus
not,
talks
the
about.
Pistis of Sophia is not biblical. That's apocryphal, isn't it? And it's not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It comes out of the mouth of Jesus,
It
it's
doesn't
true.
matter by what
It
you
doesn't
do.
Whatever
matter.
comes out of
It
the mouth
does
of Jesus, it's true.
I'm done. Let Adam have his way
Fantastic
with
book,
him.
the
Go ahead,
Pistis
Adam.
Sophia.
Go ahead.
The Pistis
Trying to find
Sophia
out
is,
where this tree is at.
yeah, is an exceptionally long book, which is in great opposition to a lot of biblical understanding. In its most fundamental, it's a Nag Hammadi text, which really is about gnosis, not so much about Christianity. It would deny Christianity, the Pistis Sophia, in that it defies most vehemently Jehovah. Jehovah being what they would describe in the Pistis Sophia as the Demerge. So fundamentally and most oppositionally not biblical, in great opposition.
No, once you
opposes
take
Jehovah.
the flat Earth route, it literally becomes literal. He literally says,
That's
"Look,
not
there's a
what you
giant
said,
snake." He
Brody.
says
You
it
just-
in Epistis of Sophia, chapter
Conflame two
126. It's
very
the first
different
one.
theologies.
So it's one of those things. Not just that, the sun and moon are discs.
Oh, what?
You're not going to
The sun
address
and
what I
moon are
just said.
discs.
You're conflating two very, very different theologies. If you're
No,
linking
it's in the Epistis of Sophia. Jesus
and
said
its
so.
full description of how things come to be and where it places Jehovah compared to biblical. That's a very fundamental differential. One, he is the creator of everything. The other, he is an errant emanation, as the Sophia calls them.
No, look, based off what I've seen with my studies, I'm just going to break this down real simple.
I'm just talking about
The
what's
Bible
in the
is
book
basic.
that you quoted.
I'm going to explain this in my way. The Bible is basically the basic simplification of the history of what happened. Okay, it basically simplifies it in a more simple term, even though it is kind of hard to understand sometimes because when you're young. But these other ancient texts give way more detail about what's going on. So I don't deny
is
these other
Jehovah
ancient
the
texts. I read
Demerge
them.
or the creator of everything? I think that
What?
really places where you place the two texts relevantly. Is Jehovah, the Demerge,
Yeah,
or
what
is
about
the
him?
creator of everything? Is
What
he
about Yahweh?
the original?
Yeah, you chose to.
Say it again?
You chose to spoke through his question, asking him what about him while he was telling you, so you didn't hear.
Yeah, say it again.
I asked you, where do you then place God, Jehovah, the biblical God? Do you place him as the creator of everything, the original source, or do you place him as the demerge, an emanation that thought he was God and went mad? And that's what the Pistis Sophia
Oh, no.
describes
He's the
Jehovah
top
as.
of the ladder. All these other gods are fallen angels. Okay, Allah, fallen angel. The diva, Shiva, fallen
That's
angel.
not what he's asking.
Odin, fallen
Hello.
angel.
Hello.
Okay, Zeus,
Saying,
fallen
he's
angel.
saying, hello. That's not his point. His point is the two
Mhm.
different texts you're quoting describe the two completely differently. And if you're saying, well, no, it's like, well, okay, but you've used a text that does use it in that context.
Yeah, what about it?
Well, which is correct? The fear or the Bible?
Both.
No, they can't both be. They have very opposing positions.
No, they don't. It's just once I started to read it, like at first it didn't make much
Guys,
sense,
I
and then
don't
it
want this
finally
to go on
clicked
all
in my
day.
head.
Sorry to interrupt you. Hello. He's just explained 4 times the differences between the two. So please don't just hand wave him and go, no, they're not fundamentally opposed, even though he's just literally detailed 4 times how they're fundamentally opposed. Don't just hand wave
No,
it.
Jesus
That's
speaks
annoying.
about all this. They go together. This isn't like
God.
something
So
of, like,
literally,
they don't
I've just
they go
told you,
together.
don't just hand wave the 4-time rendition of how they're fundamentally opposed and say, no, they're not, as a hand wave dismissal. That's going to be annoying to Adam. It's getting annoying to me. I don't even care.
Okay, here. All right, let me go over a few details. Do you know the
No,
circuits that are in your
what
body
about
that
the
Jesus
placement
spoke
of
about?
My
Christ
friend,
in all of this?
hold on,
It has
Adam,
a
hold on.
fundamental
Okay, now
difference.
I'm
on,
gonna
Adam,
connect it. I'm gonna
my
connect
friend,
it.
hello. What you need to do for this to stop being irritating is acknowledge one of the 4 renditions where Adam detailed how they're fundamentally opposed, rather than just hand-waving it and then blabbing through everybody. So this isn't going to move on. It's annoying, because you're not conceding his point that he had to repeat 4 times, with you asking, yeah, how are they different through him, so you didn't get to hear the question. Very irritating. Now that it's come 4 times, you just have to acknowledge it. Not hand-wave it and say, no, they're completely compatible, when it's been detailed 4 times how they're not.
I can show how they're compatible. You want me to show it?
Could you acknowledge his assertions in regards to Yahweh? His question was specific. It detailed how they were opposed. Could you address that, rather than ignoring it and moving on to a totally different, or talking through me while I detail for the 3rd time that you haven't acknowledged his point?
They're opposed in the sense that they're enemies, but the story is pretty much true.
They're fundamentally different in terms of their point of view. That's the 4th time.
No, because where do you think some of these Bible verses came from? They come from the Epistis of Sophia. There's a few verses in the Bible that come from the Epistis of Sophia.
And
I can connect them.
Sorry, Adam, can you detail your point for a 5th time?
Yeah. So within the creation story in the Bible, Jehovah is the original source God. Within the Pistis Sophia, there are many emanations, and it goes into great detail to describe these emanations of how God set up the universe first. And one of these things, one of the emanations is Christ, and one of them is Sophia. Sophia wanders off into the darkness, and she emanates a being called Jehovah. And Jehovah, in the darkness, away from Christ, starts to believe, without this love, that he is God, and he creates his own universe. He's called the Demerge within the Sophia, and this is the universe that the people or the writers of the Pistis Sophia believe we exist in, the Demerge creation. This is why they have such a apocalyptic view of the world, these people, because the point is to escape the Demerge's creation and go back to the original God, and that's part of why Christ comes in their story.
Oh no! What you're talking about is when you talk about Sophia, you're talking about the Holy Spirit.
Now, I'm not talking about the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit's separate
Yeah,
to that. And
there's
not
a
relevant
there's a
to those
debate going
points.
on the internet where some people think the Holy Spirit might be female.
Well, that's not
because
relevant.
God created man in His image.
Dude. I
Adam
think
is
you
giving
need
you
to go and read.
some people are
detailed
taking
background research. You're just vaguely tying together things. Right? I understand now why you said before that you weren't burdened by logic.
Okay, while there's a bit of audio chaos, the only bit I want to read out from the chat is from Paula, Level Up. She says, no, the Bible does not get material from Gnostic works.
It's female. It's a female spirit.
It reached my audience, Paula.
I've been very quiet through all of this. Thank you, Paula.
Just trying to find out where this tree is at.
In my backyard.
You're standing on
Cool,
it.
I'm coming
We're
over.
all standing on the giant tree roots. That's the idea of it.
Don't tell me you haven't enjoyed Skeptic's Impulse. Come on, he's been a proper character.
Yeah, I know I'm an interesting person.
You are. I'll grant
And
you that.
very rumpusy.
A bit rumpusy.
But the way
You
you
would
just keep talking.
Nothing wrong with being a bit rumpusy.
Oh, welcome to the show, buddy.
Indeed. Did we make it all the way through housekeeping? I think we did.
No, we did not.
Did we not? What
Is
did
there
we-
any evidence of a distance to the sun?
We did.
It's over there. I can see it.
Did we not do that? I thought we did. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there.
No.
What is the
Right
sun?
there.
I have an estimate.
An estimate, eh?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
no.
guess. I'm not gonna be like, hey, this is 100% fact. This is a
You
guess.
just told us it's an estimate, so we're already in the know on that score. So go ahead.
Okay, so I'm not gonna state this as fact, all right? But based off, it's like 11 to 40 miles high. That's it.
What is it exactly?
I wouldn't disagree with that.
It's 3 AUs.
Oh.
3 Arwinian
What is
units.
the sun?
Arwinian units.
Nathan,
Oh
what
my
is the sun?
Yeah, what is it?
All I know is it's a disc. Other than that, like nothing much more. It gives off heat. Honestly, it just sounds like a damn lamp. It just sounds like a damn lamp.
You don't know. He's a good enough answer.
I'm okay with not knowing everything. I'm not God.
Go on,
We
Arwin.
can agree there.
Before you round out, Nath, there was one bit earlier on in the questions where we were talking about retrograde motion. Me and Riley's been churning through some of the Antikytherian device stuff, just looking at different reasons. But with regards to describing that retrograde motion, it was quite interesting that with simple geometry, which is basically two circles, they can mimic this. And within the Antikytherian device, it uses it, predicts it. It's very simple the way they did this. There's none of these complex assumptions. They take what they see, which is a rotating disk of the sky field above. That's one. And then with regards to the planetas, the wandering stars, they put another simple circle that it rotates around. And that's what gives you the exact measurements through the Antikytherian mechanism, which is basically another roundabout on top of the big roundabout. And that describes the motion of the planetas perfectly.
Can Anthony maybe remind? Can Anthony just remind us what the Antikytherian mechanism is?
It's an artifact from antiquity, from the ancient Greeks. It was found around about the time of Eratosthenes, but it was made of bronze, and they don't know when it was made. So they assume that based on it being bronze, given that bronze is potentially capable of being indefinite, they don't know when it was made, but they know when it was found. And it is a mechanism that is taken from Earth's perspective, looking into the night sky, observing the lights of the sky moving across our path. and it calculates the metonic cycle over a 19-year period and gives us the predictive capabilities of the eclipses that the ball earthers claim comes from the heliocentric model. It doesn't. It comes from the Antikythera mechanism, which is a geocentric position where we can observe the night sky.
Thank you. Antiquitech is the latest and greatest terminology. Check out Martin Liedtke. His channel is still under that name, isn't it? Martin Liedtke, Liedtke. So check him out. Good friend of mine. But Martin covers a lot of old history, oldest photos he can find, and covers the technology that appears to be in them. Obviously, he speculates. Very different to this show. Just warning you that in advance. Very popular as well. Bloody hell. Have you seen how well Martin's doing?
Yeah, he's smashing it. A lot
Absolutely.
of interest in Tartaria and all of the things that he covers. It's, like I say, a very different subject, but they're still overlaid because the point of what he's highlighting is that history is a lie, which is not a very small part. And it does overlap because the way in which the history is a lie and the times in which the ball is brought in, supposedly, even the history of when the ball's brought in is clearly a lie. So there is a bit of overlap, and he is still known as Flat Earth British. So
Fascinating stuff. I remember him before his channel got stolen.
Indeed, he was a victim of a scammer getting hold of his channel, but he's built up back to easily as popular as he was. I think his second channel's called Flat Earth British Think Tank, where he occasionally will live stream from. But sometimes I've seen Martin with 1,000 live viewers. That's
I think
nuts.
the thing about it is that sorry, you're about to close out. I
No,
think the
no,
thing
go
about
ahead.
it is that he's what he's doing is interesting. So you don't have to be a flat earther to be interested in it. So that's why I reckon his audiences are pretty big.
Oh, well, he definitely gets promoted. So Martin slipped his way through the algorithm, lucky bastard, and does actually make his way onto homepages. So I'll often find myself watching Martin because it's been recommended to me. You know, the chances of me finding someone like Rachie are pretty slim, but the chances of any normal person coming, you know, just happening to stumble across Martin because they've looked up a bit of old history or something, and then next thing you know, you're being recommended Martin. That does happen. That, and he gets a lot of well-deserved shout-outs. You know, he's a good YouTuber, Martin. He's, you know, I'm glad he's doing well. He deserves it. Very interesting channel. Martin Liedtke, Liedtke. Check it out today. With that, I'm going to say, if you are watching this on either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley Premiering streams, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live, this is where we bid you farewell. So, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you. Smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!
In that same motion, but then when we get, as Nathan said, when they appear the next night, there's that movement position.
So you don't actually see them move, supposedly move back into that position, calling it retrograde, right?
No.
No, they don't
so
move.
when we were talking about phenomenon, I mean, for a phenomenon to be a phenomenon, doesn't it have to be an observed phenomenon?
That's the thing, right? It's apparent. That's why I was saying it wasn't a phenomena chocolate. And I mean, I think Brian's addition to that was perfect because he linked it to, yeah, you can see how it could be a phenomena, but you first got to know what it is. Now, on the basis that you already know what it is, it's an object falling around another object in a flat disk universe with the sun at the center, then you can start saying, oh, well, there's a bit of a problem with the way we've maths this, and obviously we haven't gone out there, they're vast distances. But they're working the way they're working cyclically, and that works perfectly, apart from this. Therefore a problem, because with our physical assumption bias, it doesn't quite work properly. You're like, you don't need to assume anything, though. Even when you do, it still doesn't quite line up with what you actually observe. You're not seeing anything orbit, you're never watching that. It's a natural assumption about what you watch take place, based on the cyclical nature, not on what you actually observe. Therefore, calling it a phenomenon, you're like, well, what's happening? What's actually happening? The light appears. Well, you're not studying that. But then it just moves across the sky. Well, you're not studying that. So what's happened? Well, the night before, it was a bit further over and hold on. How is this a phenomenon? Am I missing something?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm thinking. Like, nobody saw it move into that position. It's just now it's night, and now there it is, in a different position than it was the night before. But nobody saw it move into that position. It's just there.
I kind of conceded that point. I think I was getting rumpus by Skeptic then, but I did want to concede that point. I'm still like trying to think of a way of forcing it in, but you are right. You're not really observing anything. Although you're observing that not everything follows the same pattern. It's to me, it's trying to describe. If you need John, can you crowbar it in with a description that is sufficient? Because you are trying to describe something you don't see, but
no, you can't, because based on the most simple description of what a phenomenon would be, it doesn't fit them. It doesn't fit to me. Now, I'm sure if QE was here, he'd slap me about and say, no, it does because X, or agree with me wholeheartedly. But right here, right now, I'm just going to say, no, I don't see that it is based on what I look at happening in the sky. I can't call that a phenomena. I just can't, because nothing's happening.
Yeah, that's a name for me too.
Well, I think maybe like the whole retrograde thing and the connotation that that's on it is not the phenomena. Phenomena, if anything is part of the phenomenon or phenomena, is the fact that you don't see it change, yet it changes. So that means the whole lot is a phenomena that you don't understand.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Absolutely. So. The way you shoehorn it in, Adam, is with a physical assumption bias. So the reason it would have to be there is because you've made the assumption. If you haven't, it stops being a necessity to become a phenomena.
I was trying to keep it as just patterns. Do you know what I mean? To take that physicality away, because the first thing you want to do is fall into orbits and all that. So literally, just keeping the phenomena as the patterns change strangely. So Brian, I think, hit on it. If you describe it within the phenomena as part of the phenomena, which is throughout the night sky, we see this rotation, yet some of them do this as well. This is the phenomena we observe, the whole thing.
I'm just going to ruin the moment because Paul Connell super chatted after the live show ended and said, if we are wanting to talk about the Bible verses, can we address Psalms 19:1, please? And Uncle Werner von Braun is referring to. Thank you, Paul, if you're watching this in the after show for the super chat. Thank you very much.
Psalm 19, not 91.
19.1. What did I say? Sorry.
The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork.
Day unto day utters speech, and night unto night shows knowledge.
You know the phenomena that Eli was speaking about, that is something that we're told a different story, but the phenomenon of the moon supposedly changing track, and this can be timed, that it seems to change track, that it's in a position different the next night than it was the previous night or something like that. I don't know the full details of it. I can't remember. I remember looking at some of it before, where it seems to be suddenly lower or suddenly higher in the sky or something like that, all of a sudden. Yeah. It's the same kind of thing. It's like it becomes more mechanical, but an optically mechanical phenomenon.
Well, correct. There's different cycles within the night sky that are altering as they re-emerge, if you will. on a different rate or on a different mechanism. You know, they're ticking over slightly differently. But yeah, there's more than one. Retrograde isn't the only one. There's plenty of examples. The sun and the moon are the most obvious. You know, you've got different cycles that most people are acutely aware of in terms of what the sun does and what the moon does. But that understanding that you've got different patterns going on in the sky, well, when you describe them that way, are you actually observing those patterns occur in real time? Well, no. You're watching the thing move across the sky, and then it goes dark, and then you watch the stars move across the sky, all in sync, or appearing to. Well, the difference between the pattern the following night, does it constitute a phenomenon? Is that something happening? Because the way I've just described it now makes me think it is.
Well, yeah, I think the thing of the moon appearing to change track and the apparent retrograde motion, that is the same phenomena, as in it is something happening that we don't see happening. It's just tonight is different than last night, and we didn't see the change.
Right, but that's it. We didn't see happening. When you say there's something that we see that we didn't see happening, you're like, yeah, definitely not a phenomenon. We didn't see it happening.
Yeah, I suppose in that way, yeah, I understand. But what I would say is that begs the question, right? Now, this is speculation. It begs the question that the night sky, let's say I see tonight, and when it becomes daylight tomorrow, whoever has seen that sky after me, they're seeing probably the same sky. But the next night, when my daylight goes away and my next sky comes in, that sky will have slight differences to it. But nobody will have seen, like the retrograde motion, nobody will have actually seen that motion.
Nobody sees the
mechanism.
Position. Nobody sees it ticking over, right? Well,
yeah.
I'm smiling. Say it in my face, actually. The reason I'm smiling is because what are all of the lies surrounding, right? If we are to just take what we are told about our historic information, which has been talking about Martin, the irony of this is... anyway, let's pretend that what they tell us about our history is all true. If we're to take that as true, what's changed? What changes in a paradigm shift? What they're telling you about the sky, or the heavens, or the firmament, right? All these different words and all these different stories and all these different paradigms about things in the sky. I just remember on, I think it was Family Guy, there's like a flashback scene where they go back to being Stone Age men, and they've got the two news reporters literally sat in the lounge inside a square box representing a telly, but they're there with them. And they're like, they cut from the last news report and they say, right, now, that light in the sky, what is it and how can we worship it? And you think, yeah, because all you've ever got from the history we've been told is this notion of not really knowing what it is. At the moment, not being able to get there. Things like that.
Those lights in the sky?
Lights in the sky. Yeah.
Yeah, there's the sun and moon, then we have the lights of the firmament, just like regular lights. They don't really do anything. And then we have the stars, which are angels. That's why they move around, because they're alive.
Your timing couldn't be better.
The stars are angels.
Your timing couldn't be better. So you hold that belief, good for you. And lots of the Western world hold the belief that they're rocks in orbit and we're moving around the sun. And that's fine, I suppose. But it's just another story about something that this is where I'm going with this. I might as well just ask the question rather than building up to it. Who here actually believes that they can figure out what that is? The sun. Let's just keep it simple, right? As we didn't ask it in the housekeeping question properly. Who thinks they can ever, or anybody in the history of mankind, get to the point where they actually know what the sun is? Who thinks that they can? Raise your hand now.
Well, could I finish off what I was saying a few minutes ago, and that would be kind of in line with it, but what I was trying to say is that this will be in line with what you're asking. The reason the night sky I see tonight that someone else sees when it's daylight tomorrow for me, they'll be seeing that night sky. My next night sky will have slight differences in it. Now I won't see the movement, the changes of the those changes, and when that sky goes to the people after me, they won't see the changes. So it's like as if, where a filter that they put in front of a light. It's like as there's like a change of a filter that happens, and it's like a constant change, and the actual clockwork thing is a changing of a filter. So I don't know. Maybe it can only ever be described, and the best description wins, as opposed to actually being able to find out what it is.
I see what you're saying, and I shouldn't have cut you off because you'd have got there last time. But no, you're describing what I would describe in terms of, yes, a description. The best we can do is describe what we see, and normally after you've listened to somebody attempt to do that, you go, well, if you're right, all you've done is verbalize the visually obvious. Whoopee-doo. Now, if you're good at logging records, you could give a good account of the cyclical nature of it as well. Well, again, I'm going to demean it a little bit and go whoopee-doo. Yeah, mainly because we've done it, not because it's not a monumental feat to achieve that. But it's been done, and we're led to believe it's been done for a very long time. In other words, people have always been able to pretty accurately describe what's going to happen with those movements, right? Doesn't matter whether it's a geocentric, heliocentric, doesn't matter if it's angels, it doesn't matter what the paradigm is at the moment of that particular understanding. There's been people that understand it and can predict it based on the fact that it's cyclical. Not a great prediction, really, when you think about it. It's cyclical. So that's all we've got. My question, though, is not who's got the best description or who can shoehorn that description into the model the best with the least errors, like whatever, retrograde. I'm saying who actually thinks that they can get to the nitty-gritty of what it actually is. I'm just using the sun so we don't go into wild tangents about knowing various aspects of it. The sun just, in this instance, just represents what the sky is. Literally, what is it? Will we ever know? That's my main question.
Well, what I would say is that our best chance of finding out is to find out what, as best as we can, how it works within this system. Because if I wanted to find out what the sun is, my own personal speculation is that that this whole system is part of it's all self-automated, and everything it's like the only ever perpetual motion machine, or the greatest ever one, because everything seems to feed everything else. Nothing is ever going to waste.
Okay, I think Brian.
So how does the sun?
I think we can take that as a yes. You live in hope that you will find out. I think we can take that as a firm yes from you.
Yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to be the next to say no, I don't think so. But whoever else, I want to hear a few different opinions. If you think you can figure out what the sun is, speak now.
Well, I think some in the East will say that potentially through meditation, you could learn what it is.
Somebody kick him out. Next. Is that it?
I don't really think
is there anybody else like Brian?
Know what that thing is.
Chocolate's a firm no. Anybody else like Brian thinks, yeah, with enough time, because I often will postulate this in a manner that says I'm so excited about the fact I don't know because I might be the one to find out. Now I say that with a wry smile because I'm going to declare now I don't think that's possible. I think it's like the second law of thermodynamics. To figure out the start of stuff is the beginning of entropy, is to figure out the beginning of the universe as we know it, and therefore to figure out the existence of God himself. And I think that's beyond our capabilities. And I think knowing what the majesty of the heavens is also beyond us. Anybody else who thinks you can figure it out, though?
I'd go with that, Nate. I'd go with a firm no, solely based on that. I have the understanding that I'm created, and I look at the majesty of this creation, and it's put so far out of reach. It's not tangible. It's not anything. It's not there for me to go to, and I don't think where I'm put, I was tasked to go and find out this thing. I don't, and therefore fundamentally, where it behaves, I don't think it is something we can ever go to. Whether we still have these strange heliocentric visions that it must be possible, but I think I think of creation is they're outside of creation. They're outside of They're there as described in the Bible for those laid out purposes, and that's all. They're certainly not there for us to go to.
Noah's flood.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I think if you let me just make the question a little bit. Given that they think that time causes everything, applying that logic, eventually with enough time, we might mathematically be able to calculate what the sun might be. So on that basis that it is mathematically possible given enough time, the answer has to be it has to be a 1. Yes, we will eventually, because time causes everything.
Like a single thing you voted at any the flood.
Wow.
What was the rebuttal to that?
I don't know. Somebody mumbled something.
Skeptic, he just constantly mumbles to everybody.
I heard mumbling, I just didn't hear what he said.
What happened? I didn't say anything.
Hot mic and then.
Yeah, well, I will state, because I'm the only person here that's stating that it's possible, that our best chance to find out what it is not by looking at it, is to find out what the system is. If we find out what this place is, then we have a chance of finding out what that is. But if we're focusing just on that, then there could be a load of other understanding that we need to find out what that is. And we need to go to this understanding is found in through other parts of the system. And then we can find out what that is. It's like a big piece of a jigsaw puzzle, but if you're just looking at that one piece, you'll never fit it in anywhere. Do you understand what I mean? You need to build around it and find out. It's like we need to find out what the place is.
I'm not denying or decrying the ingenuity of man. I'm saying it's not within the remit of man to be able to do so. Within creation, it's not within man's remit to be able to do so. It's not physically possible.
Yeah, Brian's sort of skirting around it by saying, well, we'll study the systems. You're like, okay, fine, let's follow the yellow brick road and figure out how it works when we get to the Emerald City. But I just want to go to the sun. If I'm going to say I know what it is, I want to have some sort of physical interaction with it beyond sunburn.
Well, I would say that there's other things that we would need to find out about first and how they work and what they are before we could ever get to that point. The sun is outside of our understanding because we don't understand the system we're in the first place. That'd be my if we're going that's our best bet.
You can't do that. You can't take a no position, which is no, we can't figure out what the sun is, but we can know what the sun is.
No,
because
I'm saying we can, but we can't do it any other way than what I'm saying. Any other way with the wrong logic, it's not going to work.
No, Brian's right.
Well, you're not letting me speak, so I can't. I don't know what example you're looking for, but well, I'll put it this way, right? We don't know, for instance, like entropy is a description of a phenomena. We don't know what causes that phenomena. So we need to look into all these other things that are not as prevalent in our day-to-day world. We're not as noticed as, let's say, the sun is. We need to find out how the ground works before we can find out how the sky works. Do you understand what I mean? Because they're all going to work together. So we have to find out what the system is and how the system works before we can start, if we're going to find out what the sun is. So it is, yeah, I do think it's possible to find out what the sun is, but
So
only
why do you think
after we
it's
find out other
possible
things.
to find out the system then, Brian? Why? That seems just as much an impossibility. It's just as intangible. Unless you're suggesting you can get to an edge to start your inquiries.
Well, the thing about it is that we can't at present go to wherever the sun is if it is and at that point you're seeing it as a physical location. We can't even deal with that yet. So we have to deal with, you can't go running with your shoelaces open. You have to deal with tying your shoelaces first. So let's deal with what's going on in the world that we live in, the system we live inside. the world we're on. Start there, because there's a load of stuff we're told about the world that isn't true. So find out what all that stuff is first, and then other things will start falling into place. You can't find out what the big light in the sky is if you don't even know what the system you're walking around on is. That'd be my attitude.
But that's just as hard to find out the answer to, isn't it?
Well, maybe not, because we're actually down here. So we have some hope. There's some hope, if you know what I mean. But if you if you try to look up at the sun and try and look at it through whatever optics or whatever, bouncing things off it or whatever, that's not going to tell you what it is. Because if it was, it would have already.
No, we've got to find the physical limitations where we can't go any further in whichever direction. In every direction.
Yeah, but the physical limitations is not about, it doesn't matter the size of the system. What matters is how it works. The size then is irrelevant to how it works. It could be tiny or huge, if you know what I mean, Rams. It doesn't matter what size it is, just how it works.
Sure.
They explored the limits of the sky. What was, I forget what JPL or NASA was called before it was NASA, but some aeronautics division that were exploring the high altitudes. And there's a whole boring movie made about it. It won all sorts of awards. I think it's called The Right Stuff. And they basically go through that transition period up until NASA, if you will, and how they're exploring the upper echelons of our heavens and where they failed, and then you get NASA, and then you get a load of fakery. So I suspect, this is kind of a Mark Sargent vibe too, that they found out. They figured out the limitations of where they could go up. And then they went, that's it. Okay, well, that doesn't fit in line with what we currently understand. And maybe there were people somewhere going, yeah, we already knew that. I would suspect that was the case. But for somebody somewhere, they've gone, well, we've got to do something about this. And then the decision was made to lie. That's how you get NASA.
What about the geographical limits on the surface and doing proper cartography and?
Well, I think the whole point of the Bohr paradigm is to give us the impression that we were on a very limited amount of area, because obviously it's a nice way to wrap up what you've got if you put it on a ball, because there's no way beyond it. You just go back on yourself. Now, a lot of initial flat earth arguments would say, well, you need north-south circumnavigation or whatever it's called in that direction to prove that it is actually spherical, because just going round and round in circles, you could do that in a pond. It doesn't have to be a ball to do that, to achieve it the way they describe it. You need to go north to south. And
I actually have a question for the ball earthers and the atheists and stuff. I actually have a question for them. Okay? Can you guys do me a favor? I mean, this is real simple. So in the science textbook, it says that there's a core inside of the Earth. Right? It's supposedly like 4,000 miles down, something like that, right? So the longest hole ever dug is like 8 to 9 miles. Okay, now do me a favor. Can you prove the core of the Earth even exists?
No,
can you do that? If you can, good luck. If you can't, I want you to admit it. If you can't admit it, well then you're in denial and in delusion.
Well, that's what we get. It's met with a stony silence. It's one of the housekeeping questions. The most absurd housekeeping question, I might add.
I'll give the example that I'll give the example that Neil was asking me for earlier. Right, there's several examples I could give, right? I'll put it this way. We're all told water, when it freezes, becomes ice. Now, after that, if you look into it further, you'll find out that ice is less dense than water, yet it's a solid. And people go, wow, isn't that strange? And they never get any explanation past that. There's a very good reason why ice is less dense than water. Because what happens is, in the colder parts of the world, let's say close to the Antarctic or the Arctic regions, when the ice freezes, it floats on top of the water, it doesn't sink. And what it does is the fish that would have been feeding up closer to the surface, they go down lower. And what they move away from the ice. But what the ice does is that it creates what's the word I'm looking for? Like enclosed heat. What's the word? Someone help me.
Radiation?
Not radiation. It's like because it creates. Oh God, it's going out of my head. It's like a cover. Because it creates a cover, it creates heat, warmth down below.
Insulator.
Insulation. That's it. Insulation. Thanks, Anthony. I couldn't think of the word. It's insulating. So it allows the fish and marine life that would have been feeding higher to the surface in the warmer temperatures to go down lower and still survive and to be able to feed down there and live down there. So it creates insulation down below. And that's why that's the natural reason why ice is less dense than water, because it does that. And there might be others, but that's one of the main reasons. So we don't get taught those things. Like, so obviously this has to be it's intelligently designed. So there's a starting point, right? So we know that about ice and water. Let's find all the other things that we know that are definitely true.
Okay, well, air insulates.
I got it. The sun is an
nothing
ice
else.
cube.
Compartmentalized air, remember? So both ice and air insulate.
I think it's just due to the electron positions on the oxygen. So when it's in liquid state, things are flowing over each other. But when it forms into a crystalline lattice, because the electrons don't allow to line up, it actually forces the molecules into a much larger area than they have to occupy when they can be a lot more random and slide between each other a little bit. When a lattice is formed, the structure of the water molecule and the way the electrons have to position means its lattice structure is actually strangely larger than in its liquid state. That's why ice floats, because it therefore makes it less dense than when it's in its liquid state.
Right. And don't forget that oceanic water, there are currents, even very deep. There's documentaries about this specifically, about like really deep ocean currents. So warm water will also be provided from the outside, while I guess the ice on top will insulate it a little, will keep it in its place. So it's very complicated dynamics.
Like what Adam gave there was the more, let's just say, textbook physics reason for why ice floats. But what I was alluding to is the natural reason for it, as opposed to how it does what it does, why it does what it does from a natural point of view within the system, as opposed to why it does what it does from a physics explanation, if you understand what I mean.
So designer's reason. I can fill in some of that.
Yes.
Why is ice ice? Well, what does ice typically do? It expands. You know that ice and water have even been used in ancient times to split rock. You drill very tiresomely a hole in a huge monolith. You pour down a bit of water, then you use chemicals to basically, refrigerate the water in there locally, freeze it up, it expands and actually breaks the rock. So ice is literally like a breaker. It grinds up stuff, it gets in between hard materials, and then it freezes and breaks it all apart to dust. So I think that is also part of the function of ice in this realm.
I think they still use that. Actually, I think engineers still use that way. Carbon.
Yeah, you're thinking of dynamite.
Could be. It's ancient.
So then tell me how sometimes when I'm doing a floor and we have to pull up the old floor and the glue is still very tacky, we get dry ice and we throw it all over the floor, and then we're able to just pop up the tiles, just shatter.
I don't know, Neil. You'd like to
I have an answer for this. It's because it's a liquid. Like the glue is slightly liquidish, and that makes it more flexible, much harder to get off. But if you freeze it, then it's forced into a more solid state, and then it might just become much more brittle and easily break off.
I think this is an issue for your union representative. Take it up with him.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, but it's not. That's not a natural phenomenon. That's within man-made, the human world.
Oh, no, it is natural. That definitely occurs. While I was describing it, I was just thinking about documentaries I've watched that describe how rocks get disintegrated from the bottom up and start falling to pieces in the first place. And while I was describing, I was thinking, yeah, that's just another cycle, isn't it? Another way that stuff gets mashed up, mixed up, reformed. And I bet you anything, that cycle's much faster than we all actually are led to believe. You know, we've got these timelines that last bazillion years, and I bet these cycles are much, much faster than they let on.
Well, and they're also completely in nature, because just think of what a river has to go through, where it comes from. Like rivers come from groundwater a little, but originally it comes from a glacier, which is ice. The ice is going to grind on the mountain, which is rock. That mountain's going to turn into dust. Then the liquefied ice turns to water, carries some of that dust alongside the river. And that's how a lot of clay and fine dust and even pieces of gold here and there, certain places, are found in the river. That was all a part of the mountain that the ice scraped off and then carried down. And that also eventually gets into the soil, what makes the soil rich. So it's all scraped off by the water and turned into soil.
Hello, Nathan. I was talking about Neil's flooring. It's not a natural phenomenon.
Hello, whoever that was.
Generally Shady.
Hello, General Shady.
Agreed. That's how soil is formed, basically, yes. Wash down of rivers and glaciers and the grinding of sediment. Whatever.
Say oil?
So, soil.
Oh, soil. Sorry, I misheard you.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry.
Forest dirt.
There's actually a very interesting study behind the Himalayas and the what is it, the European Alps, where there's the peaks and then the valleys behind, and the valleys behind are a kilometer or two deep of ground soil and broken up pieces of the Himalayas. So the valleys that used to be much deeper are actually filled with all the sediment and things that have been broken by the ice and the wash down.
Right. That all used to be part of the mountainside, and then the ice basically broke it off and grinded it into dust.
Yeah.
That's true.
Exactly, and then it gets washed down, and then you can imagine it eventually making its way to a place in the middle of a large body of water where it's under very high pressure, and so on and so forth. Yeah. And then the water moves to a different location, exposing that land with a whole great big pile of it in the middle, for the sake of argument. What I'm saying is, in terms of how geological structures are formed, we've got a whole historical timeline and narrative about that. Now, it doesn't fit with what we actually see. Now, as a result, people just spin that into fear. Oh, well, we've got climate change. We've got global warming.
Nathan. It does.
What does?
Alaska and the gold-bearing deposits are one indication of that.
Of what?
Did you know that the US bought Alaska from Russia for $750,000?
Okay.
And now it's one of the highest gold-bearing. It's one of the highest gold-bearing places on the planet. But they bought it from Russia for something like $750,000.
Well, they bought New Amsterdam, that you now know as New York, the same way from the Netherlands.
It's scary that they paid that much for it, and it produces that much gold on a little mining plot each day.
Wow, we're all
But the
over the
gold
place
bearing
today.
But all of these things,
the
like
gold bearing deposits of Alaska are immense. But it's fine gold that's been ground down.
if you consider the control mechanisms that we live under, all of the things that you've described, including the money paid for the land and the commodity value of what was found on it, those are all constructs that the men themselves have created.
Oh, life is created over a period of time.
And you think life is created over a period of time?
Have you ever thought about Alaska?
Society, so to speak. Like,
hold on. You think life is created over a
he's
period
answering
of
you. He's
time?
just saying. He's answering you.
Life
saying
is created by
society,
God.
Guy, if you're asking something, right, and he says words to the effect of, "Well, society changes over," and then immediately you speak through him, he's answering you. You just got to listen to him. Go ahead.
Thank you. I tried. Yes, I do believe that for a start. But what I'm saying is society has changed over a period of time. We have grown. The what do you call it? The revolution. Can't think of it right now.
Sure, but what I'm trying to get at is the things that you're describing. I can't believe they spent that little money on it and it's worth that much in terms of its commodity wealth.
Oh yeah. Check it out, man. It's hilarious. Russia sold Alaska to the US for pittance.
My point is, when
something
you
like
say
750 grand.
Yeah, I get that, but what I'm saying is, when you describe it in those terms, the construct itself, the men that are devising wealth from commodities. I get that gold has got a useful purpose these days, but aside from that,
yeah,
it's a false created societal structure, and within that false societal structure, you've got this notion of the paper that's transmitted hands or the numbers that have changed on a book being low, and you're like, do you see where I'm going?
Agreed.
It's also the circumstance.
This is why I don't like the economics of today, like Wall Street and it is a total load of crap.
It's the circumstances
it's all
from
on
back
paper.
then.
There is no realistic form of any of it.
But even I'm glad you said that. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of argument, we're on the gold standard. Bearing in mind, I've just said I've bundled gold into the same exact category, a man-made construct, an idea.
Yes.
So, what difference would it make if there was some commodity value attached to the pound notes? What difference would it make?
It used to be. Now it's not.
No, I know that.
It used to be that you had to have the gold to back it up, and then they stepped beyond that, and now it's all make believe, garbage.
But you're missing my point. So when it was gold, it wasn't make believe. You're saying it was something physical, right? Something that had true wealth. What's true value?
When they had the original banknotes started coming, with cash money started coming, each country had to have the backing to back each dollar it printed.
No,
and
I
then
understand
it went
that.
past
Yeah, but that could be all kinds of backing, though. That
You're missing my point.
Sorry.
I know.
What Nathan is asking.
I missed your point. Sorry.
Yeah, my
What
point
Nathan
is
is
that
asking.
What? Go on, Brian. Go on. If you want to paraphrase what I'm saying rather than changing the point, then go ahead.
Yeah, what Nathan is asking is who said gold had value in the first place, other than people just believing that it has value. It's like we gave the value to it. It's just the metal that we gave value to.
It's got a different word, and he used it.
Oh, yeah.
It's got a word.
Yeah, I hear you.
Let me just tell you. The word is a standard. What's a standard?
Yeah. Some bullshit in paper.
Right. Something we've all agreed upon. So it's agreed upon. That it's backed by gold,
It's not very often we have agreed. It's not very often we have agreed, Nathan, but I'll agree on that.
You've got it.
It's a
You've
convention.
I have to ask the question.
Did you know? If I may, A few years ago, when the oil prices actually went to negative numbers, in the stock market you can bet on negatives. So when someone fails, instead of actually investing into something that wins, you can invest at something that fails. And there were people that made $660 million in the US, like 5 or 6 people. When the oil market crashed, they bet that it would crash. So stock market isn't the stock market, it's just a big casino for rich people.
Well, I can do the same. I can do this all day. So, oil has another standard attached to it now, doesn't it?
Kinda.
Kind
Not
of.
like gold, but
Not
kinda.
like the petrodollar.
It only has value for as long as it can actually perform a vital function. That is what gives it its value. And the same goes for gold, by the way. The value of gold has only gone up because more applications have been found for gold.
That's only 10% true. While something may have an intrinsic use, that doesn't necessarily mean that the standard that's agreed upon matches either the supply, the demand, or the actual use. So 10% true.
Agreed. There's also. Yep.
Hold on. Go ahead. Hold on.
Yeah,
Register Riches.
the reason gold and all this stuff and silver and all this stuff has value is because of the watchers. Okay, that's the reason it has value.
What's the watcher?
The watchers are a group
about to
called
bring something in, if you may. The 60 Minutes many years ago, diamonds, right? They tell us diamonds are rare and valuable, and they're not. They're not very fucking rare. There's only a few colors that are rare.
Have you recently bought
Diamonds aren't
diamonds? Is that why you're so annoyed about this?
No. 60 Minutes years ago, many years ago, 20, 25 years ago, they sent a reporter to Russia, and Russia was going to dump millions and, well, billions of dollars worth, but millions and millions of diamonds on the market. They threatened the Western economy that they would do it. And a reporter went to Russia and went to their diamond vault. And they went to a building, and it was underground. It's all underground. They got in a lift, and it's like 20 stories. And they said to the reporter, choose the floor. And she said 16, for instance. And they went to level 16. And they got out, and they were in a corridor. And it went left and right. And they said, where do you want to go? She said, we'll go right. And they went right, and they said, pick a corridor. She chose a corridor, and it was so long. And they said, pick a door, and she picked a door. And they went in the door, and they said, pick a vault, and etc., etc., etc. And they opened a safe, and it was just full of diamonds. And this whole complex, they did that 3 times. An entire complex underground was just pockers with diamonds out of Russia's natural resources. And they said they could virtually cripple the world's economy of diamond and other things just by dumping all this diamond on the market at a point. They don't. They let it
But
out
the diamonds is even
grabs
more
like they do
complicated.
oil.
The diamonds is even more complicated because that one is artificially kept up high in price.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Diamond
that's-
prices are very much dependent.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
it's completely devised out of nothing. In other words, with diamonds. So I think it's the De Vere group originally, and this is a relatively recent thing. So they literally advertised the concept, the notion of giving your fiance diamonds, and to sell more diamonds.
Yes.
So, it's a completely manufactured industry. So when you say it would destroy economies, well, no, it would destroy the diamond industry. If people were to realise. But it's one of those
the amount that they could drop on would be billions upon billions. It would make diamond as cheap as glass.
Well, they tend to put it out in a
They had
controlled
that many
opposition.
diamonds.
It's a controlled opposition narrative that comes out against diamonds. So they even made a
Correct.
Hollywood movie about it in terms of
I
the
did-
South African diamond industry. The movie was called Blood Diamond, and it's about the same exact story, but from South Africa rather than from Russia. But it's the same narrative, And I strongly suspect that they're all controlled narratives. In other words, if you're going to engineer something out of nothing and give it value, you know you're going to have opposition. Therefore, you're going to want to control that opposition. Therefore, the most prevalent stories, to my taste, are going to be controlled up narratives. And therefore, they're not in any way trustworthy. I don't think the story behind these blood diamonds...
I've only recently... Dude, can I add something? It's even weirder because... when you criminalize something, it becomes more valuable. So if you attract crime-based... Can I finish? If you make crime-based diamond stories, it'll actually effectively increase its value.
Yeah, I'd go with that too.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd go with that too.
It's same as cocaine in Colombia. It's about, if you walk down the street, and you're already way down the track, but if you walk down the street and you buy a kilo of coke, it'll cost you about $1,500, $3,000. By the time that is delivered to the US, it's about $300,000 in value.
Okay.
Going back to gold real quick.
Stop.
Too much information.
Hello? Can you hear me? Before this conversation progresses on this line, there's only so much disclaimer I can put in this conversation.
Yeah,
so
okay, yeah.
we're reaching that limit.
Well,
can
I'll give an example. I'll give an example. That will and I myself am a fan of it, but cryptocurrency is absolutely nothing. It's just ones and zeros. That's all cryptocurrency is. It's not real. There's no real cryptocurrency.
No.
But it's an asset. It is an asset.
It says real paper currency. It's
but you didn't leave me finish.
Oh, Brian, how little you know. There are standards, my friend.
Yeah, that's my point. It's like we have given it, I should say, in the past 15 years or whatever it is, we have given cryptocurrency the value that it has. Now, if I owned 100 Bitcoins, I'm doing pretty well. But what are Bitcoins? They're nothing.
Nothing at all. Zero.
They're backed by pound notes, which are backed by gold, which are backed by oil, which is backed by the people, which is backed by the taxes. I think you'll find there's many standards in place for crypto. It's totally safe and legit.
They actually can't even back crypto the dollars now.
Can you physically give me a crypto coin, Nathan?
Yeah, it's on the blockchain. What's your problem?
Its backing is the algorithm.
Well, they have gold backed crypto too.
Hold on, there's a transaction going on here. Look, I'll just fire up my graphics card. Give me 5 days.
GSX FinTech is backed by gold.
Hooray! It's backed by gold. Where can I sign?
It's backed by bankers. That's what it's backed by. That's why it has value, because it's backed by
gold and money
bankers.
doesn't matter. Golden
When
money
did
doesn't
they
matter.
stop
It's all in the head of
backing
the
it with
people.
goats?
It's imaginary. It's all in the head of the people. Because if you were on an island alone by yourself with no money, no nothing, with no one to help you, I promise you, money would be the least of your worries. So it's fake. It's imaginary. It's in the heads of men and women.
If I may, Australia is the second highest gold producer in the world. It produces something like 190 tons of gold a year. 190 tons, which is wow.
Do you know the first device that gave gold its value in history?
What?
Tabernacle.
What's that?
What?
The tabernacle from the Bible, where God essentially manifested himself within the confines of the tabernacle that was constructed.
You mean the teaching that said material wealth is worth nothing, and if you
could be
follow the material teachings.
I keep telling people it comes from the Watchers. That's where people got their value from gold and silver and all this stuff. It comes from the Watchers. The Watchers are the ones who taught the human race all this shit, and it's pretty
the Anunnaki and the 10th planet of gold.
What planet?
The color of gold. The color of gold in
there is no planet.
In spirituality, the color of gold was claimed to be God's color. So that may have something to do with it.
Did you know that purple was the color of God?
No, that's royalty.
Yeah, that's also connected.
Because it was
white.
made by
Gold and purple.
by breeding certain types of butterflies and using their wings to make purple. That was the only purple that was ever made. And
Blueberry.
in the year 1992, 93, the
Sounds
Pope
made up.
had a scarf that was purple, and it was worth over $8,500. It's a free scarf. Therefore,
Blue is the
God-
rarest color to naturally
God
exist.
and his representatives are utterly wrong. They're fake, because you can't have someone that has an $8,500 little scarf when there are homeless people and God was walking around in Hessian sack at one point, teaching others
Oh,
to
that way.
feed the
I
homeless.
thought like it doesn't
Yeah.
have that value. I think it does have that value. There's like 8,000 euros worth of child labor in there. No.
Well, the
In
thing about it
Vatican
is
City,
that
I'd agree.
with gold, we are given the impression that gold, like in the old times, they obviously gave the world the impression that gold was the color of gold. The color gold, I know, was said to be connected to God, and gold is supposed to be a precious rare metal. Now we don't know if gold is a rare metal. It's like the diamond thing. It might be more rare than diamonds, but we don't know if it's as rare as they say.
Well, there's more gold above ground than there is silver. Silver is actually rarer than gold when you look at how much is above ground. And then when you look at J.P. Morgan and how he manipulated the silver commodities, you start to see what the hell's going on.
No, gold is pretty. It is a rare metal. It's just that it's a big world, so it's not that rare. Really.
Gold is a different metal because it doesn't. It's not affected by many acids. It's malleable. You can form it into different shapes. It is a different thing. You can actually
And
eat
it's a
gold.
perfect
Won't hurt
temperature
you.
insulator, which is quite unique property for a metal.
What?
It's
No,
very dense as well.
Gold is a
incorrect. It's not an
perfect
insulator.
temperature
It's not an
insulator.
insulator.
I know
What are you
this because
talking
I'm a
about, Arwen?
goldsmith. I know this.
No, it's not.
Gold is not an insulator.
Yes, it insulates temperature. Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
I know this
No,
from
it does not.
practical
No,
experience.
it does not. It does not.
Yeah, it does.
Gold
Yeah, it
gold
does.
is
Yeah, it
Arwen,
does.
right, this is
I'm a
one of those times,
goldsmith.
Arwen.
I've done
Hold
it
on,
for
guys.
years. Yeah, it
Arwen,
does.
Arwen, this is one of those times. Just stop talking. I beg of you.
No.
Gold is not an insulator of temperature at
Insulate
all.
temperature.
At all.
Yes,
It's
yes,
like
it is.
copper. It actually
I've had
flows
pins
temperature.
of gold. I've had pins of gold that I worked on as a goldsmith that I could hold between my fingers on one side and put a very, very hot flame on the other side, and I wouldn't even feel the heat. Yeah, it is.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not.
Fuck you, bro. I'm a
Can we
professional
change the subject?
goldsmith.
Arwen,
Hang on, you
please.
don't need all that.
Anyway, this died off.
No.
Stop. Look, we were trying to.
Do you
Hello.
do you
trying
actually
to get
know
some
what is
control.
one of the
Hello.
best
That means stop
temperature-
talking. Doesn't mean continue talking
Sorry.
through me non-stop. Thank you.
Sorry.
Trying to retain some control when chaos ensues because Arwen's been.
Yeah.
I won't even end that sentence. Stop talking through me. The whole point of this conversation was to ascertain whether or not you specifically appreciated that it's just an ascribed standard, no matter whether it's goats, gold, oil, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin, who cares? This is all societally based, as opposed to physically based. The actual world we experience in terms of what we might need or require has nothing to do with the societal standard, the matrix standard. That's where all your perceived value comes in these commodities. And we're given this full sense of security. Initially, when they probably produced the coins, they made them out of gold so that they could perceive to have some sort of inherent value. And then they go, well, that's a bit expensive. Wink, wink. Let's make it out of paper. And we'll put it with the gold in the bank. And then eventually, well, that's a bit of a pain in the ass. Let's just not even have the gold. None of it matter to begin with, is the point.
If I may,
back
Nathan,
to the original argument, please?
salt used to be worth more than gold.
Exactly.
If you go to Cuba, it's still is.
Saffron, another
Salt
example.
used to be worth more than gold.
Spices, precisely. Saffron still is.
Yeah, yeah,
But pound for
spices and
pound, it's
salt.
more expensive.
Yeah.
Yes. Why? Well, because there's a saffron market. That's why.
Oh God, saffron. That's the most ridiculous shit ever, isn't it?
It does work quite
Yeah, it
nicely
isn't
in
even
the
that good.
bolognese.
Can I loop it back to
That's-
what
wow.
started out this conversation, as in the selling of Alaska by Russia to the United States and why it was so cheap? You know why? Because the whole world knew that the whole shit was going to break out in America. And whatever
No, they just didn't think.
I'm gonna finish.
They just didn't think Russia was. They didn't think Alaska was worth anything.
Yeah, it is.
You know what the most
No
expensive
I've got to
substance is?
stop again. Hold on. Worth something. You're talking about a physical piece of land, right? And
The gold reserves in Alaska.
Okay, yes, thank you. I get it. I'm
You
saying
still have to mine it and then keep it safe.
thank you, Arwin. Thanks. You can't sell, in quotes, a piece of land. The notion is absurd when you look at it from the most basic tenet of what you're suggesting. You're suggesting that this piece of land was owned, a notion that we have constructed, and then sold, a notion that we have constructed, for something of value, a notion that we have constructed, with a number attached, a description we have
I have no idea what to make
constructed,
of this.
to another
I
land.
literally have no idea what to make.
Right.
Babbling
From
to me.
one claimant to the other. That's how it works. Russia was there to occupy it. They had a claim on it on paper with the nobility. And then, like, okay, this is going to be tough to defend. Let's just sell it. They want it. We need the money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's what they did, and they failed so miserably. Bad, real bad.
You know what the most expensive substance is right now?
Antimatter.
Unobtainium?
Yep.
Adamantium?
Antimatter.
Antimatter.
Kryptonite?
Doesn't exist.
It's worth a few billions of dollars per gram.
I think it's
There are
1.2
0
billion
grams of it.
or
It
2.1,
doesn't
something
have
like
any
that.
weight.
Fast
I
forward.
couldn't hear any of that.
Fast forward to 2525. Did you know that they sold that for only 25 billion? God, they were so stupid back then.
Yeah.
But when
antimatter
they
was
were
real,
building
it
the
would not
atomic
have weight.
bombs, plutonium was the most expensive
Oh, here we go.
because they had to bombard atoms of uranium and different things, and it cost them so much to make grams of plutonium until they worked it out.
Says who?
What?
Says who?
Sorry.
Says who?
Oh, no, that was true when they were figuring out how to enrich or make atom bombs cheaper, because the original atom bomb was created if you put 78.6 kilos of uranium in a chunk, it would go fission. It would go reactive and melt down and explode.
Really?
The first uranium bombs were actually two chunks of like 30 kilos each of uranium, and they just smashed them together.
Okay.
And that's why they were fairly dirty.
Let me just try this way. I'll juxtapose that with my story of how the most explosive material on Krypton was when they merged adamantium with kryptonite, and the ensuing explosion was beyond all comprehension. How is my story any different to yours?
No, that is true. That was the Manhattan Project.
His uranium
Just
came
respond.
from Uranus.
Guys, let me just respond with the same rebuttal you gave me. No, that is true. It did happen that way on Krypton. They did do that.
Well, thank God, because we would have never had Superman.
Let's not get into the
That's
semantics.
how the first uranium bombs worked. The first atom bombs worked. It
Yeah,
was
that's
just
how the first
smashing.
adamantium/krypton bombs worked. That's how they worked. Do you see how I'm just using the same thing you're doing?
And now we got all
No,
the
'cause
uniform.
I'm talking reality.
Okay. Says who?
Then they put a plutonium trigger in.
Oh
That stopped them a
God!
lot.
You don't
That
even know
could
if
make
that happened.
plutonium.
Okay. And then they put an unobtainium trigger in the adamantium kryptonite bomb.
Well, what are you saying, Nathan? That atom bombs didn't work that way?
Have you ever
Lead
seen
is
a
just depleted
demonstration?
Exactly. It's a
Guys,
just so
hello. Have you made one?
I know how they work.
So, how do you know?
The original atom bombs, yes, I know how they work.
Yeah,
And I know how.
Yeah,
And
how
I
do
know
you
how.
know? How do you know?
And I know how they do hydrogen bombs as well.
Yeah, I know how they do adamantium bombs. How do you know?
Okay.
But you're saying adamantium bombs like that's a joke.
Well,
And I'm
beyond
not
my
joking. I'm
okay,
saying
mate,
that-
beyond my rebuttal, which was the same as yours, which was that's just how they work, that's how they did them. I just know that's just reality. That's what you're giving me, and I'm giving it you straight back, and you're objecting, which is a bit frustrating.
Well, you can go and look it up.
You can go and look up that. You can go and look up the adamantium kryptonite. You can look that up too. It's very well documented.
Well, how do you think the first atom bombs worked?
How do you think the first kryptonite bombs work? They're very well documented. I've even
there is
got
there is no
my
first
friend.
kryptonite
My
bomb,
friend,
there's the
don't
first
get
atom
annoyed.
bomb.
You don't need to talk through me. You can. I can. Would you like me to provide you with video footage of these adamantium kryptonite bombs with the unobtainium trigger? Because I've got video footage and it's extensively documented. So that's the standard, is it?
Are we talking X-Men or
No,
reality?
I just said that the first atom bombs were made by doing that. That's the
Are
way
they?
work.
And you made them that way?
No.
So
but
how
that's
do you
how they were
know?
made.
I've asked you 4 times and you just tell me that's how they're made.
Well, how is your touchscreen made?
I'm not talking about my touchscreen. I'm talking about you saying that's
Well, you
what
can't
atom bombs
explain
are.
that.
You've made the claim. You've said you know. That's how they are. How do you know?
And I said that
He'd have to kill you if he told you.
76.6 or 78.6 kilograms of uranium pushed into.
Sorry, my friend. Listen, stop. How do you know? Isn't me detailing? Stop. Me detailing how much kryptonite isn't me telling you how I know that the kryptonite does that, or that men have done it, or that there's been the effect that's described.
So you're just denying what I'm saying. That
No, I'm asking you how you know. I haven't denied anything. I've asked how you know.
Because that's the way science describes it.
By who?
By the scientists that made the atom bomb.
Oh, right. And you've verified this how?
So you're denying what I'm saying.
I haven't denied a thing. Hello?
What I'm saying.
I haven't denied anything. I've asked you how you know about your claim.
That's ridiculous, Nathan. That's really ridiculous, mate. I'm sorry, but that's silly.
No, that's called
I can't make
empiricism.
my own atom bomb. Have you? Has anyone else? Has anyone else made their own atom bomb here? But the atom bomb was made.
You're the only one
how
claiming it.
It's made.
You're the only one claiming it.
No,
hello, stop.
But that's how,
Stop.
well,
Hello.
Will you tell me how it was made? Will you tell me otherwise how it was made?
That's called a burden of proof reversal fallacy.
No, that's called truth.
You're demanding that I give it you. You're demanding I provide it. My friend, this is going to get tedious if every time I talk, you talk through me. No, you're challenging me to provide the evidence. That's a burden of proof reversal fallacy.
No,
stop.
I'm not. You're challenging my explanation of it, which is well known.
Hello. You are the one making the positive assertion. The burden is on you to prove it.
Challenging
I'm
my
asking
claim.
you.
Sorry, Nathan, but you're
stop
challenging
talking
my
through me, my friend. It's getting very irritating. The burden is on you to prove this claim, not me. Not me to disprove it either, right? If you want to provide evidence, I'll look at it. I haven't denied anything. I'm asking you to back your claim.
And I have. By a statement.
Are you talking about splitting the atom?
If you look anywhere in nuclear physics, they will show you how nuclear fission is produced.
According to what they say.
Show you. Actual
They
physical
can
show
split
you?
the atom.
Does it physically show you? Can you demonstrate it to yourself in a laboratory that it works?
Oh yeah, I'll go and buy 80 kilos of uranium, shall I? And show you.
Can you just believe
No.
As
them?
long as I can
my
do it on your
bad.
front
Oh, and
doorstep.
you expect me to go to Krypton? Oh, how unreasonable. So, yeah, I can provide a standard that's on Krypton, therefore completely unreasonable for you to suggest that I prove my claim. But when it comes to you, oh my God, you've got to get uranium.
So you're denying the atom bomb exists?
You're the one claiming it does. It's up to you to
Are
prove it.
you denying
Sorry,
the atom bomb exists?
I'm denying that you've provided any reasonable evidence that I would accept.
Well, didn't Hiroshima do that? And Nagasaki?
I denied it.
Right.
And I will deny it. Dynamite.
I think
So
the point
you're
is
denying
that
you're denying atom bombs exist.
I'm denying
you?
that you've
No.
proved to me what you've claimed. That's where I've
Are
haven't
you
had
denying
sufficient.
that atom?
And every time I point that out, I get talked through. Right? You know that you haven't provided a decent enough standard here. I know it also. But you're going to continually mute me pointing out that you haven't provided a sufficient standard and say, well, you're denying it. Well, no, I'm asking you to back your claim. And when I do, I get constantly interrupted when I ask. I don't get
I
it.
can't. Okay, go and look up the Manhattan Project. Go and look up how the first uranium atom bombs were made.
Why? So I can
And it
parrot
will
it off
provide
like you
you
have.
evidence.
Why?
It
So
will prove. It will
why?
prove my
Hello?
evidence.
Does it have an end to your sentence, or does it just continue through my
It'll-
response? Hello? You've got to stop talking at the end of your sentence. Right. So why would I go and look at the Manhattan Project? So I can prattle it off like you have, like a parrot? Why? What's in there?
You're asking me for proof, and I'm.
That's right. Sorry, are you asking me with an exasperated tone why I'd want proof? Yeah, that's the standard.
No, I'm saying that you've asked me for proof.
Yeah.
I'm telling you how it worked, and it's open public knowledge.
Oh, really? It's open public knowledge that we're on a sphere with a molten iron core and a radius value and a bloody geometric horizon, and that the sun is hydrogen burning in a vacuum in violation of natural law. There's a lot of things that are common knowledge. So when people come with these outrageous statements, I ask them to prove them, and they point me in direction of their rhetoric and storybook. No thanks.
There is no outrageous statement. It's the fact that that's how the atom bombs were made.
Nathan's point
Very
is
easy
that
to understand.
I see. I
and
just have
very
to
common.
accept your baseless generalization and stereotyping fallacy that I'm disagreeing with it because I'm what? Some crazy notion of somebody who's in denial when it comes to your storybook.
Well, if you don't agree with me, explain how an atom bomb works to me, mate.
I don't know that such a thing exists. You've not proven that it does.
So you are now denying that an atom bomb exists.
Tell me what it is.
Are you denying that an atom bomb exists?
I've not experienced one, and neither have you. So what is it?
You haven't answered my question.
Sorry, I
Are
did.
you
I said I haven't
denying that an
experienced
atom
one.
bomb exists?
I'll repeat my answer because I specifically stated I have not experienced one, neither have you. And then I asked, what is it?
Well, why
Claimed
don't
to
you
be
go
a
and
type of
explain that to the
explosive.
people of Hiroshima and Nagasaki?
What about them? Sorry, does that prove A-bombs exist?
Yes, it does.
Sorry, you don't think there's
Really?
other bombs?
you
That specifically proves that that specific chemical process or reaction is actually that reaction because you say these people died because of that reaction. No, that does.
know
That's
how
a
many
non-sequitur.
tests of
My
atom
friend,
bombs
this
and
isn't a reasonable.
thermonuclear bombs
Mate, what's your
have been
problem?
made
My
on
friend,
the face
my
of
friend.
the earth?
Hello. What's your problem? What is your malfunction? Why is this a constant? You interrupt me when I respond to you. Why is that happening?
Go.
I don't need permission. I need you to shut up when I talk.
Go.
No, I don't need permission. I need to have an understanding that when I next talk, you won't talk through it.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so we're back to...
No problem.
Okay. That's a non sequitur fallacy. It does not follow. The fact that you assert this specific type of reaction, chemical or otherwise, I don't know how you describe it, but that specific thing doesn't follow that which occurred, documented in history, proves that chemical reaction, if that's what it is. What is it? What type of reaction?
May I?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So it's not a chemical reaction; it's a nuclear reaction. So by what you're stating, you are denying that nuclear reactors and nuclear power plants exist. Is that what you were stating?
What? That's something else.
No.
That works differently.
No,
Sorry,
no, it's not. No, it's not.
Another
It's a fission-
non sequitur
It's a
fallacy.
fission reaction. It's
Another
a fission
non-sequitur.
reaction.
So it's another non sequitur fallacy.
So, no, it's a fission reaction. Are you now stating or claiming that nuclear reactors, nuclear power plants don't exist? Nuclear bombs don't exist.
Sorry,
Is
you
that what you're
have
stating?
No, I'm not denying
asking
it.
a simple question: yes or no.
I'm trying to answer. No, I'm not denying it.
Yes or no?
I'm asking if you can validate that process, as opposed to the existence of what are labelled nuclear power plants. Have you personally verified that process?
How in the fuck am I meant to fucking validate?
So no would be the answer then. So you see how you haven't validated it, I haven't validated it, and there's nobody here that's validated it, yet you see it as unreasonable that I would want proof of it. No, I don't see that as unreasonable. And I haven't had this is not my first rodeo with a wanker talking through every second word when we most recently had an agreement that you wouldn't do that, wanker. So you are a wanker, now constantly fundy muting me despite our agreement that you wouldn't do that and talk through every word of my response. Yeah, so you have made it plain. I'm going to kick you out if you do it one more time, scumbag. I'll make my response. This is your last opportunity to not interrupt me. If you do it again, you're going to get removed.
Fair enough.
That means shut up. I'm not being subtle. I won't say it again. You'll just get removed.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
So, when you declare that you have not validated this, and neither have I don't see it as unreasonable that I ask you to validate it and prove that which you are claiming. Beyond your non sequitur fallacies that buildings prove this process, or what was the first one we detailed? Bombs prove this process. Now, I don't accept that, and you haven't validated it. So, no, not unreasonable to suggest it. Don't get exasperated and tell me that I'm just a denier when you haven't proven it and it's your positive claim.
Can I respond?
You already have. You've explained that you cannot validate it and haven't.
May I respond?
Well, it's the end. You haven't validated it. It's not unreasonable to ask for validation of it.
It's sort of fair enough, but at that level of radionuclear bloody, of course I can't validate it myself.
Why'd you believe it then?
Because what else produces an explosion like a hydrogen bomb?
Sorry, that's a non sequitur. Non sequitur
No, it's
fallacy.
not.
Sorry,
And I
proving
don't-
what else could or couldn't be akin or alike with a correlation doesn't prove this assumption you haven't validated. Yet we're still at the same place. Non sequiturs aren't going to get you there, mate. My question stands.
Your fallacy arguments are a basic fallacy in themselves.
Sorry, we're going to get into. Sorry, my question still stands. It's not a fallacy. You have to prove the thing true for it to be a fallacy. You haven't done that. So it's not my friend, I'm responding. That means shut the fuck up. I'm not going to ask you again. You're an unreasonable prick. Okay, prick? That's what I'll refer to you from now on. As he interrupts me again, he's a prick. Okay, prick? So, now, without choice, got to use my mute button on you, prick. Because you keep talking through me, prick. So try not to talk through me, prick. Yeah. All you've got is a load of fallacies. Now, for it to be a fallacy, That would be to suggest that I've used the fallacy to describe something that is inherently true. Therefore, me describing it with fallacious logic as false doesn't stand because it is in fact true. Has to have the premise as true proven in the first place. You haven't done that. So this is not a fallacy. Now that little segue into detailing what a fallacy is, for you, the prick who keeps interrupting me and using fallacy for something he hasn't validated, is unreasonable. Very unreasonable. Now, it's not unreasonable for me to ask you to prove your claim without a constant string of interruptions and demands that I'm a denier. No. I have a certain standard, and if you're going to claim something's real, you better damn well prove it, not just say that you can't, but it's unreasonable to deny it, because you already know. And then offer up a load of fallacies, and in defense of your fallacy claim, I'm using a fallacy. Also wrong. No, I'm not. You haven't proved your claim in the first instance. Fallacy to take effect. Okay? Dick?
May I respond?
You're a dick.
May I respond?
You're a dick. Do you understand me, dick? Full of fallacy for your belief in something you haven't validated, in this case, hydrogen bombs. Yeah, you've got a little belief, like the people who come here with globe beliefs. That's what you've got. And because you've got a little belief that you're holding on to, you're going to constantly interrupt, fundy mute the crap out of me while I point out that you're holding on to a belief. That's what you're doing.
Yeah. That's why I stick with the Bible, because it's physically true.
May I respond, Nathan?
What, with your belief?
May I respond?
You're constantly interrupting me, right? So when you ask me for permission, I will berate you for the constant string of interruptions I've had while I detail your belief, held without any evidence, without any validation, without anything that you have done to prove it to yourself, let alone me.
May I respond?
Just a whole lot of trust in authority.
May I respond, mate?
Yeah, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Can I have 2 minutes here to respond?
Sure.
Nathan Oakley. All you do is yell and abuse.
Yeah, go fuck yourself, you pathetic loser prick.
Wow.
You're going to start with a string of fucking ad homs here, you losing twat. Yeah, you've got a fundy fuckwit belief like all the globe believers. You're going to try and fundy mute the crap out of me berating you for your ad hominem attack in lieu of an actual argument here, you fundy belief holding prick. Yeah, you appeal to your authority in your storybooks and then ad hom me when I pull them apart and embarrass you for being an interrupting little prick with a belief that you still hold on to. You're a prick and you're about to get removed for your non-stop interruption after an ad hominem fallacy. What you've done is ad hom me. You pathetic prick.
Oh boy.
Yeah, go fuck yourself. You're going to get removed. Come back another day, you prick. Yeah, you lost badly and then started to ad hom me. Total prick. That's what you do when you lose. It doesn't matter what the subject is. It's human nature. If you lose...
to the Bible.
Yeah, when you lose, you start that. Not because you've got a globe belief, but because you've got a belief. And someone points out how you've got a belief and how you haven't validated it and you're holding on to your stories.
The point is that the only evidence that the man can produce is the same as me or you, and that's not evidence to back up the claim. So what he should have said is, look, all I've got is the same thing as you or anyone else could get. You know, it's not evidence. I can read about it, but that doesn't make it evidence. I can't validate it. I haven't seen it validated. There isn't validation enough for that. I mean, that's all it was. It's like he should have just gone, all I can give you is that, and left it at that.
He doesn't want to admit reality. He doesn't want to admit
Can we
that
call
he
him a
doesn't
flat
know everything. He
earther, Dave?
basically wants to be God, and it's retarded. This is for
He has
everyone
the flatter
listening.
date.
You will never be God. You will never know everything. You're human. It's okay to be wrong. You're not always going to be right. And
I'm not saying he's
people
wrong.
just can't accept it.
He might be right, but the standard provided wasn't of that. I have no interest in that subject. None. But I just hear a claim and go, oh, claim. I don't care what it's about. I go, all right, give us your evidence for your claim then. Do I give a crap about bombs? No. Don't give a crap about energy production. No, couldn't care less. What I hear is, ka-ching, somebody making a claim. All right, go ahead and back it. I can't. Are you denying my funding? I couldn't give a crap. No, I'm not denying it. I don't care.
I thought it was weird how we would tie in nuclear reactor function with atom bombs when it has nothing to do with one another. Like, it's not the same effect. And hey, I think that uranium rods do indeed heat water, which are used in a turbine, and that is a nuclear reactor, basically. That doesn't mean that if you put the rods together to this weight, it's going to suddenly explode, right? That's really the Manhattan Project claim. It's different from just the regular use of uranium and radioactive materials in industry. It's weird how he put it all in one heap.
I don't understand how people hold such beliefs to things like that and get so agitated and annoyed when someone just points out that, well, you haven't necessarily validated this now, have you?
Yeah,
but for some reason,
I'm actually wondering right now, are there like any atheists or anything on here that like have any questions about the Bible or something? Because like, if anyone,
This is not
look,
a Bible.
if anyone
This
has
is
an
not a
answer,
Bible.
it's
I'm
me.
actually wondering how you just cut Nathan off.
Yeah.
Yeah, who cares?
No, go
The
Nathan.
conclusion had come to that conversation, but yeah, it was a bit abrupt, skeptic, but fine. Whatever.
No, let's go.
I think when someone starts saying, "Do you deny this? Do you deny this?" At that point, I think what it is that they're trying to put the onus, what's the word? Create a self awareness where you are supposed to be self-aware that you may be denying things that you shouldn't be denying. And it's like that's the tactic. And it's
Correct.
like, I think that it's one of those things where the tactic comes natural because somebody can't understand how you're not accepting their evidence. So you have to be denying things because their evidence is not evidence enough. You know,
Are
it's
you
like
denying that I'm
They
denying
can't believe
you're
that we're
denying?
denying it, right? So he's trying to pin us down.
But we're not even denying it. We're just asking for evidence.
That was my
what
point,
Nathan
Brian.
was doing.
Exactly.
I would have just answered yes, right? Because I'm not on that tactical level as Nathan keeps.
I'm not denying it, though. I just want to go off what Brian said. Exactly, Brian. I have no interest, right? I don't care. Now, if someone turned around to me and said, "You idiot, of course it's real. Here's how you prove it," and they gave me a decent demonstration, I'd be like, okay. And I'd be like, yeah, but you're an idiot. You would deny. No, I wasn't. I was just asking him to prove it by a standard that I can understand and appreciate, that's not riddled with fallacy, right? That's it. Now, it's perked up my interest towards the subject because somebody's obviously got a good understanding, or what they thought was a good understanding, to the point where they'll argue passionately about it with me, someone who literally does not care. Yeah, that piques my interest. Why has he got this belief in these things? Now, up until this particular moment, I didn't really care, but now I do. Now I'm thinking, what? It's just another thing for people to be scared of, isn't it? Right? Yeah.
No.
So that's where that rabbit hole will probably end.
So I can tell you a little about why some people like to believe in nukes, especially the United States. It's because the idea that nukes are preventing colossal wars are very reassuring to some people that are very worried about people that might hate them or whatever, or their country, right? And then the idea, yeah, we got nukes. That's a good idea. It's like, yeah, that'll prevent shit from blowing out of control. And that's why they really hold on to it. It's scary to realize, like, oh, wait, it was Emperor's Clothes. There is no nukes. It's something else. And then you don't feel that protection, right? So I think
Makes
that's
sense.
why he
Arwen.
just didn't expect that and got all panicked, agitated.
Arwen, sorry, that doesn't make sense because no matter if nukes are nuclear fission, fusion, whatever, if they were chemical or whatever, there are still weapons weapons that are really strong. It doesn't matter what causes the explosion.
Agreed.
Right. So
Correct.
those weapons still exist. So your point doesn't really make sense.
I agree.
Okay, show me where they exist.
Hold on. Right, you can create big explosions, right? I don't disagree. His point is completely valid. Was that Zinder? You're right.
Yeah.
You're completely correct. That part of it isn't what I was questioning, though, and I think you realise that.
Well, the big difference.
I
with
realized that, but I was questioning Orwing. Sorry, I was addressing Orwing.
My bad. Go ahead, Arwin.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, especially with nukes, the idea of it is that such a small device can create such a vast explosion. Now, you can still make pretty vast explosions like the mother of all bombs, but just look at how much volumes and weight such a thing has, right? And the more volume and weight, the harder it is to transport, etc., etc. So the idea of nukes is lightweight, massive explosion, which makes it very flexible and easy to blow up everything all at once. And because everybody with nukes realizes that, they don't use it, right? Until they are feeling literally threatened that they might be totally obliterated. And that is just, it gives a tactical, reassuring idea. That was the idea of like, okay, we all have nukes, so nobody goes to war because it would be devastating. That was the original premise of it, right? And people hold on to that.
Right,
It's weird.
Sorry.
I was going to ask what terror level we're at currently. It doesn't matter.
Right. Well, it's kind of shoved under the carpet now, right?
Yeah, how scared should we be?
I've just looked it up. It's orange. I thank you.
Okay, so we should be orange scared.
That's correct.
Got it.
Go in peace.
When rockets go flying, we should still be scared. We just don't need to be afraid that the entire Earth is going to be radioactive and everything is going to die, right? That part is a lie. Doesn't mean there can't be big craters made.
That's right. Just listen to Arwin. Be scared of these specific things, but not scared of those specific things.
If you follow the history of Japan and like the war and everything, at the end of the day, like those weapons, like this like I think fat man and little boy or something, they only caused, I think, a small fraction of the death. At the end of the day, the most damage did the fighter bombs and everything. So I think people are focusing too much on the nuclear weapon instead of,
because it's prevalent in the narrative, though, isn't it? That's why we're talking about it, because, you know, like that guy, it's prevalent in the narrative. Well, I know I don't want to be assumptive, but maybe you're not asking yourself why. If you know all the reasons against why it should be a big deal, and I agree with everything you've said, why would it be such a big deal in the narrative then? Well, that's Arwin's description. Well, he says it's the reassurance, which I wouldn't use that word. I'd use the fear-based mind control as opposed to the reassurance of it, but there we go. That's just me.
No, but it's a reassurance. It's our nukes. Nobody's going to mess with us because we got the nukes, right? That mentality. I've seen quite a few Americas that have that at times.
Well, the thing about calling them nuclear bombs is that it's not just the big explosion, it's the after effects that you're told will happen. So you're told that you'll have all these poisonous after effects that will destroy all the population around for whatever radius of where the bomb originally goes off, and there's going to be all these problems. So it's not just that it's a big bomb, it's that it's a big bomb with an after effect that could even be worse. And that's why you're told to run towards an atom bomb and not away, what they call the atom bomb. So, like Arwin is correct. It's like the country with the most. The thing about it is with America as well is that America don't just have probably the most or as much as anyone else actual what they call atom bombs, but they have also used them. So it's not just that someone has a big stick, it's that they're willing to hit you with it. And that's the thing. So that does keep people, it does keep other countries kind of like fearful.
All about fear.
fearful, you know.
I remember I was in school and they made us watch this movie called The Day After. I was in 8th grade. And it was about a nuclear strike. Petrified the shit out of me.
Yeah, man, I saw that like last year. Yeah. That's absolutely reinforcement, you know? And it's really made to be really in your face scary and shit.
No, you're wrong, Owen. That's reassurance for the children.
No, that was actually the other side of it. No, I'm talking about a very specific tactical mindset, like our military, our protection, you know? It's a very specific type of mindset that would think like that.
I'll
Right?
tell you how deep it goes.
Liberals
If you remember
don't give a shit.
If you remember the beginning of the movie, like all the people that were on the highway, their cars stopped. Their batteries just went off. And that shit happened in my house the other day. Where everything just went off. And I was like, holy shit, did we just get hit with a nuclear bomb? That's how deep the fear is.
It's an EMP you're talking about, electromagnetic pulse. Apparently, it's dissipated.
No, but in this Day After movie, that's what happened. The cars went dead and everything.
Yeah.
And then there was the big glare.
Yeah. I'm trying to explain that is part of what they claim happens. It sets off an electromagnetic pulse, and that shuts down everything electrical.
Yeah, that's part of the Flash.
It's part of the bullshit. That's what it is. I'm sure EMP is real, but whether or not that's something that gets emanating from a, oh god, I don't know.
Well, right. Well, what a nuke, and even the nuke in Japan, the nukes in Japan probably were combined things, if anything. There's a firebomb. There's the visual op to get the right angle to make it look like a mushroom cloud, and maybe they did have like an EMP device even back then. That would be an integral part of the theatrics of it.
You can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Well, you have movies like the Terminator series, which has done the best above all others, of really showing the fear, showing it as like how bad things can get, you know, after this big nuclear fallout, after these bombs, or you know, this type of thing. And they have this, like in the second Terminator 2, where you have the big, after the bomb goes off, you have the big fire, wind of fire or whatever. They just takes the flesh off of everyone's bones. You know, this kind of thing. It's an absolute, total and utter destruction. So it's just like, that is what people believe it will happen. And it's not far off. I mean, the initial wouldn't be far off. Not that I was obviously, thank God I was never involved in it, but it wouldn't be that far off, because that's what people said they saw in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, is that people just had all the flesh tore off their.
And there's another place in the world where that also happened that isn't as prominent. It's called Dresden. Because that's what happened when you
Dresden, the
firebomb the shit out of
Augsburg and Dresden.
Yeah. That's what happens when you firebomb a place. Everything is just like the streets melt, people on fire. It's a total nightmare.
I think this is Zinda's point, right? That's what Zinda was saying. The fact that there are obviously heavily devastated areas that it's easy to prove were bombarded, let's just use that word, doesn't prove either way some of the technology that's claimed to be out there, that also happens to have parodies made of it in terms of Dr. Zhivago, and you've got what's the other one that you were just talking about, Terminator 2. You know, all of this sort of propaganda. If you look at some of the early footage of A-bombs that they claim to have filmed, it's clearly stop motion and special effects in small scale. I mean, it's so blatantly obvious when you look at some of the old footage.
Right. With impervious cameras.
Yeah, with cameras that don't get blown over, but the trees do. Yeah, it's clearly done in small scale, but that's what you're sold, right? Or pictures of sunrises. That one always gets me. Look at this nuclear explosion. You're like, that's a sunrise.
It's part of the theatrics of it.
Yeah.
They even reference it. It's as bright as the sun. Oh, yeah.
It's sort of pre-space, though. It's a pre-mainstream space, let's just say. in terms of that particular bullshit. That was what people were being duped and hoaxed with. Now it's space.
Right. First came the nukes, then came the space, and it pretty much came through the television, all of it.
Yeah.
These projects.
And they make movies about it. You know, in They Live, as we were talking about Russian Vids earlier, Russian Vids' avatar is Roddy Piper from They Live, the wrestler guy. Anyway, the plot of the film is that they're trying to stop the signal that's sort of brainwashing people into not seeing the psychopath alien types that are running the world. Well, that's a metaphor for what TV actually does. Now, I say TV, I make myself seem this way because it's old-fashioned now to talk about television. We're of an age where television's nigh on become irrelevant, right? It's becoming less and less prevalent by the day. People are moving over to internet streaming and all the rest of it. Less and less TVs. So that particular method of brainwashing is going to be replaced by social engineering, otherwise known as social media.
Exactly.
We're part of it.
Yes, I am. Totally right.
Or not
what
part
a great
of it.
movie.
Or not part of it, as the case may be, because we're shoved into a corner that's undiscoverable. Share the show, please.
Well, the Cold War was one of the most. I suppose for me, it's one of the wars that I find easiest to watch in a movie, because it's all, no one knows what it was all about. As in, it's all espionage and all this kind of stuff. So it's all like stealing documents and spy versus spy, and it's like the Cold War is like whatever was that, that kind of way. What was that Cold War? We all know it's nonsense, right? It was nonsense. It was made up, but what was it like? It was this big war that never happened, but it was the biggest threat ever, because it was the one war everyone was terrified of, because everyone was expecting Russia and America to just nuke the whole world.
Yeah.
Conflict without the weapons.
It was a giant wrestling match standoff, and they were holding the entire world hostage with it.
Yeah, with fear.
The Cold War was on us. Sorry, Nathan.
With fear. You know, the new title is The War on Fear, right?
Yeah.
Oh no, not The War on Fear. The War on Terror. My bad.
Yeah.
Which is Orwellian, isn't it? I just said it the wrong way around.
yeah. I said yeah, and I was like, War on Fear. That's something that doesn't fit there.
On this war on terror, who's your enemy? Just wondering. Who's your enemy?
You are.
Yeah.
You are.
I can just
You're
invent
enemy.
one.
Guys.
I can just invent one. There's an invisible boogeyman that's out there right now searching you down, Paul. It's called Miranda 1624. And it's going to get
if
you.
they just label you
It's going to
like
get
a
you, Paul.
domestic terrorist, or you're trying to take the White House, you're a terrorist, or not the White House, but the Capitol building, you're just going in, but no guns, no nothing, but you're a terrorist because there's no bombs, no weapons, no nothing. But you're
No,
still
it's
a
just
terrorist.
in the air. It's just in the air you breathe. It's invisible. It's the most terrifying enemy you could possibly imagine.
So if I did, Nathan, the way you act on the show, you're a terrorist. So you're my enemy because I don't like your position.
You're not understanding
rude, you're
that.
mean.
No, he's not. He's a terror dispeller. He doesn't breed terror. He holds people to account. It's different.
Look, that guy earlier was very upset that, I was taking away the thing that he likes to be scared of.
I'm just playing, but yeah, I get you. So anything that you fear is you're a terrorist.
Yeah, that's how the control structure works with fear. It's all about control. Why do they lie about the globe? Yeah, well, they want to keep us under control. Fear's the best tool.
Well, fear stops people from doing things all the time, every day, small little things even. So fear
What was
works,
that?
on everyone.
What's that quote from 1984 where he says, "If we want to change the math, we can. If we want to make the stars close or far, we can do it." What was that quote again?
It's what
I
it's
know I'm
torturing him.
paraphrasing.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact quote, but you pretty much nailed it. If we want to make the stars close, we can. If we want to make them far away, is it beyond our mathematicians? Something like that. He's torturing him and explaining that the world can be however you want it to be. If you're in control of the stories and the narratives, then the world is how you say it is. You can switch yourself off from it all. You don't have to expose yourself to all this crap.
So, Nathan, are you denying the existence of nuclear weapons?
No. Saying that, no, I haven't been given good enough evidence to believe in that particular brand of fear-based mind
Are
control.
you denying the evidence of nuclear weapons?
Are you denying?
It's
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's utilizing the most base instinct you have, right? When they use fear-based mind control. So there's only a couple of things that your body's telling you to do. Number one, don't die. Yeah? The reason you look both ways when you're crossing the street, your body's instinctually telling you, don't die. Right?
Correct.
What else does your body tell you?
I don't do that.
You do,
Make
or you wouldn't.
babies.
Yeah, you do. You do it naturally without thinking about it, or you wouldn't be here to tell me that. You'd have already been run over by a bus.
I've just been lucky, man.
No, instinctually keep yourself out of danger. That's just primeval. You do it without thinking about it. The other thing that you're instinctually told to
I
do,
have like a nervous twitch. I just start shaking my head and go cry.
Make babies.
Thank you. The other thing is to reproduce. Correct, Neil. Make babies, reproduce, carry on the existence of your lineage. Yeah. So to boil it down, don't die, reproduce. That's what your body's telling you to do. And that's leveraged in two ways. One is called the death cell. The other is called the sex cell. Now, the sex cell, everyone's familiar with. Put a pair of breasts on something and people want it. Wow, that orange juice has got a woman in a bikini. I'll buy that one. Yeah, very simple principle. The same principle works equally effectively with death. Yeah? You can be convinced to buy things with the death cell. I'll give you an example of this that most people will be horrified. Any smokers here? Anyone smoke cigarettes? Especially if you're a UK resident. Okay, nobody smokes. Okay, in the UK, on a pack of cigarettes, there are health warnings with graphic, and I'm going to say it twice, depictions of lung disease, heart disease, various different types of cancer. And that is leveraging the death cell. You'll want to buy more cigarettes. You'll be inclined to buy more because of that type of advertising. You'll actually see a sales increase. They do it with movie marketing. They do it with all sorts of stuff in the subliminal realm as well. They'll put death masks and skull images into advertising to trigger that part of your brain. Anyway, that's enough of my...
I don't want to.
Go
I
on,
don't want
Paul.
to get down this rabbit hole too far because I know you want to go there. But
Hold on.
something during the coronavirus pandemic, all they did all the time here in the U.S. on just about every channel was say cases and death, cases and death, cases and death for months and months and months and months and months.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. I mean, obviously that was
Without
you got
any of the
the
facts.
fear in people. Yeah. And now people, even after now the mask mandate is lifting in the U.S., there's people been so conditioned because of the fear factor that they won't even take their mask off when they don't have to. Like people that are fully vaccinated out in public will still wear their mask.
All I
It's just
hear
funny.
on
It's just
TV
crazy.
now is to get vaccinated too. Now the new thing is get vaccinated on every sporting event. Got your announcers telling you to do it. So you can enjoy the game
Exactly.
with the
That's
rest of
another.
the fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to go down that
Hopefully
road too far because I know Nathan doesn't want to go there. But
I don't mind. The magic trick's already over. It's already been cast. It's, you know, as a YouTuber, you don't want to get involved with the magic trick while the magic trick's being cast. Whereas that statement from Neil a moment ago, right? There's people, once the mandate's lifted, that are still going to walk around in masks. Well, what does that say? It means the magic trick's worked. It's been successful. The time has now passed. Will you have any effect on this as an individual or a group trying to change the way things are? No. And I knew that in 2019 when I read the Coronavirus Act. No, was it Coronavirus? Yeah, was it 2019? It's been such a long time since I read it.
2020.
I was going to say I thought it was Corona Act 2020. It is, you're right, 2020. And upon reading it, I was like, this is how it is now. And don't get me wrong, I got a little bit upset about it. I even had a show about it in, I don't know, February 2020. And I expressed my fear, which is what I totally got caught up in it. And I expressed that fear to my audience about how I was concerned about all these things. But after reading it, I'm like, it doesn't matter how scared I am about it. That is how it is. The new normal was what they were calling it at the time. Maybe that term rings some bells. Yeah, get used to it. It's the new normal. In other words, stuff's going to change. This is how it's going to change. You better get used to it. And, you know, acceptance in the terms of the societal structure that you find yourself in, you have to accept it. You haven't got a choice in it. You're not creating society, are you? Not at all.
Nope, we are society.
No, we're not. Don't kid yourself.
We're not society.
Paul.
You're what I'll tell you society is, Neil. And if you're not like society is as I tell you, you'll be different, okay?
Yes,
Thatcher said it. There's no such thing as society.
Well, look, this is all a precursor, you know that, right? This is all just testing the waters for the mark of the beast. Be scared.
Well, Paul, just saying, for example, I got vaccinated and I still walk around with a mask, but I don't think
No
that your
shit,
point that
Sherlock.
people are... Wait, hold on. I don't think that your point, because people still fear it, holds. I think that's just because, as I think Nathan also said, it just became the norm.
so why do you wear a mask, Cinder?
Because otherwise, when I go into a train, I would get kicked out.
Exactly.
If somebody
No health
from there,
reasons.
right? I don't know. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because you want to be able to go and buy your food and get on a train. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a solution to that problem of not being able to get home at night. Right? That's the solution. The mask is the solution to not getting at home at night.
Well, wait a minute though. So basically, the train system is not following the rule now, because once you're fully vaccinated, you're not required to wear a mask. So if they're requiring you to wear a mask, they're not following their own rule, their own governmental rule system.
Well, I mean, we still have like I don't live in America, right? So we have other rules, but our rule is that it doesn't matter if you're vaccinated or not. You just have to wear this fucking mask. Doesn't matter.
For what reason? What's the reasoning? What's their logic?
Told you so you can go on the train. He just explained it.
Yeah.
Oh, just the train. I know, but I mean, they have to be just to go on the train. That's his reasoning. But what's their reasoning that you're still
No, because he won't be left on the train without a mask. He won't be able to go in and buy stuff in shops without a mask.
Sorry, he's asking. Paul's asking why. Can someone stuff him in a Hessian bag and take him away?
I mean, I'm asking why. I know why Zender's wearing a mask, and I know why other people wear a mask. What is your governmental system that is making you on the train? I guess it's on this government or private, but what reasoning are they making you wear a mask?
For your own good.
You're not expecting a logical answer to that, are you, Paul?
For your own bloody good. Sorry, are you a COVID denier? Sorry, someone got a bag. Are you a COVID denier?
Am I COVID denier? No, I actually got COVID. Tested positive for it, didn't got antibodies. So I'm not denying COVID.
Don't come near me.
Antibodies? Really? Antiviral bodies?
I'm working on it, baby.
Look,
Did
just
you look
accept your
into
new
the
normal.
medical
That's I don't know why we're even discussing this. What difference does it possibly make? Right? It's the same as when somebody asks the same question about the nature of the reality. Well, if you're not accepting it and it doesn't change your reality and you're still on a ball, then what difference does it make? Well, none to you. Well, if you're still part of society and you want to get on the train, that's it. All right. Why are we discussing this? Is what I'm asking. Nobody's got an answer. Love it. Just maybe want to moan. Right?
Well, it's funny how the Black Swan came out, and then all of a sudden all of this happened. Real good.
No, don't. God, you're so insular. Don't assume that just because something big in your life, or for us, the Black Swan, and I'm even saying this knowing that they detailed the economical collapse as a result as a Black Swan event, right? Don't necessarily tie those two together. Just a correlation. It's easy to think that what you're doing is impactful on the entire world.
Nathan, it is the nature of our reality. This is not just some game we're playing.
Our reality. Again, bundling it into a societal context that means that everyone needs to align for you to have peace. Immediate Fundy meeting from Neil triggered him immediately. Yeah, for you to have peace.
Everybody lives on the earth. It's everybody's freaking reality.
Worry about you, Neil.
Don't believe that it does, but I said it from the beginning, and I'm always right, even when I'm wrong.
If Neil is wrong, refer to Rule 1. Neil is always right.
What I would say about this whole situation is that what it has done for me is that there's certain places that when they stop trying to enforce mask wearing, let's just say it has relaxed a bit, let's just say, but there's certain places I will never go into again because they tried to force me to wear masks when I didn't want to. So because of that, I won't go there anymore. So now I'm just one person, so maybe nobody will care. But the point is that I'll make a point of not wanting to go there because I literally have a bad impression of those establishments now. You know,
I want to say Brian was right from the beginning. I remember a long time ago, he said what every human being should do with that mask. And everybody should have listened to Brian.
Yeah, because as soon as you see, the thing about it is that it becomes a safety mechanism for people, doesn't it, Neil? It's like people now use it as a fashion accessory as well. And some people like wearing masks. Some people actually enjoy hiding their identity. So, I mean, besides all those things, the fear element, there was like the point is that there was no difference whether we wore them or didn't wear them. You know, there's no difference to the situation. You're only told there's a difference. There's no actual evidence that there was ever a difference. You know, it says
a lot of people are wearing them as a symbol to say that I am part of the society. I'm on the same team as everybody else, sort of thing.
Yeah, I actually found myself when busy times in the shop I go to, that they don't bother me about wearing a mask. I actually found myself having to hide my face from certain people because you could see people were trying to see, is he wearing a mask or not? And I had people actually approach me. I was even approached by the police in the shop. You know, so I actually had that situation where I had to actually go. I tried to go shopping at times when there would be less people there, you know, because I wouldn't be running into so many people. So it actually got that ridiculous where I literally was avoiding groups of people, and I would put my hand up and pretend I'm scratching my nose or turn my face away from someone who I know was getting all screwed up about it. You know what I mean? I'm not. If they want to approach me and say something, I'll deal with it. You know, I'll tell them, you know, whatever. But the thing about it is that I got to the point where there was, when the shop was so busy, you know, these big supermarkets were so busy, there was just a lot of people kind of look at that person not joining in. Do you know what I mean? It's like that person is not towing the line. You know, so it's like, yeah, I'm not towing the line, and I'm not going to. But you know, if I can avoid hassle about it while I get bread and milk, I will. You know.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, but now they're telling you there's signs where I live. If you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. But they can't check. It's illegal for them to make you show proof. So nobody questions me.
But what about the free side of French fries?
I don't know. I just don't put them on no more. Stores, you read the sign out front. It says only vaccinated people can walk around without a mask. Sporting events, I don't know. I haven't gone to one, so I don't know if they're asking for some sort of proof. But I know that they can't. And plus, I was doing the other thing too. I was just telling them I have a medical condition, and they don't bother you. You don't have to explain to them what it is or what it's not. Shout out to David Weiss for the info.
Well, what I had is that I had this guy who was a undercover police guy approach me. This guy saw me, and I noticed that he saw me in the aisles at the shop, and he never came over to me. But he waited till I was actually at the cash register. You know, you're going through the conveyor belt with all your stuff. I had a trolley load of stuff, and he decided to come over and start hassling me at that point, when he knew that I was busy doing what I was doing. And I was half dealing with him, half dealing with the shopping and the person behind the till. You know, so he caught me at that point. So it was like little stupid, kind of scummy, sneaky things like that. So it's like, why are you hassling me now? You had the opportunity to hassle me 5 minutes ago when I could have given you my full attention. So I ended up looking for this guy afterwards. So as soon as I got finished with my shopping, I went looking for the guy, because as soon as I was giving him back an argument, he just said he didn't want to hear it, and he stormed off. You know, even though he was an undercover cop. I went looking for him. I looked for him outside the shop in the car park, which is a big car park. I came back into the shop, back out to the car park. There was no sign of him, because I wasn't happy with the way he did it, you know. But it was like that is that kind of level of sneakiness, you know, that you're dealing with that.
Indeed. Unfortunately, though, that's where I'm going to round out. So with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's after show possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of you in either Nathan Oakley 1980 or Nathan Oakley premiering streams, for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and becoming a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member. Also, below this video, you can get £50 for swapping your UK electricity supplier, excuse me, to Octopus Energy. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
What a lovely day!